2024. 24 divided by 8 is 3. 3 sides to a pyramid. Illuminati is the movies. 2024.
What? 2024? 2020...
2020 vision.
Oh.
That's 2020.
My head's gonna explode.
Oh, yeah.
What are you doing? 2020.
I'm Wilson Lai. I'm cutting it off. I'm Wilson Lai.
I'm Benjamin Ya.
I'm the Illuminati. Okay, fine. I'm Eli Sands.
And you're listening to Deep Cut.
On Deep Cut, we usually compare a director's most popular film with a personal favorite chosen by one of us.
We also discuss that director's life and career to bring context that helps us view their movies as they may want us to.
If you're enjoying the show, please rate and subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts to help others discover the show. Better still, you can leave a review on Apple Podcasts or comment on our episodes directly on Spotify. You can also keep up with us on Instagram and Letterboxd at Deep Cut Pod and join our Discord to chat with us directly. We also have a Patreon if you'd like to support us. Find links to all of these via the link in our description or go to deepcutpod.com. So boys, we've pushed this as far as we could push it. I think historically our year in review episodes have come out around the time of the Oscars, and the Oscars are well and truly behind us right now.
Over.
So
Good riddance.
I think people maybe were asking for it, but by now they've forgotten about us. So now's the best time for us to put out our episode, once titled Our Year in Reviews, now for SEO purposes titled The Best Movies of 2024 according to the three
us.
of us.
That's funny. I didn't know we were renaming it, but that
we
makes
are.
a lot of sense from an SEO perspective.
Yeah. Learn how to make a podcast on this podcast.
So if you've listened to our previous year in review episodes, we're going to follow a similar kind of structure where we'll firstly talk about our general feelings towards our year of movie watching, and then hit some obligatory mentions and big movies. After that, going into our honorable mentions, and then closing out with our top 5 films of 2024. Okay, without further ado, and we don't want to waste more of your time because you're going to be spending maybe 2, maybe 3 hours with us today.
Hopefully. So enjoyable 2 hours.
Exactly.
Be sure to take a break, get some water, take a walk.
Yeah.
Take care of yourself as you join us on this journey, because we won't be.
Okay, so do we just talk about 24 generally?
Yeah.
I watched too many movies from 2024. Too many.
How do you quantify too many?
I don't know. I'm looking at my ranked list. It's like 70-something movies, which is a little bit more than last year, which was also 70 more. Although, following from last year, I also watched a lot of movies on the big screen again, which I'm really grateful for. So, generally speaking, I still try to go to the theater as much as I can. Even if I can watch that movie at home, I feel like it's just better to be in the cinema, you know?
Totally agreed.
People need to go to the cinemas. Like, it's just better to watch stuff there. And also, especially if it's a boring, slow, long movie, like, at least I can't turn it off. And I'll feel like I need to sit there, even though I don't want to.
You also went to the cinemas in other countries as well.
Yes, I did. Oh, we're going to plug this.
Yeah.
I mean, this wasn't 2024. This is 2025, technically speaking. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah. But I had a good time in Japan 2 months ago, I guess, watching movies in Tokyo, Kyoto, and some other smaller cities. Yeah, which is really nice. And I think it's really nice to see Japan's movie-going culture, because it's like you see people from all walks of life, different age groups, all watching films of all sorts. Even what you would see to be a deep cut is being watched by, like, I don't know, some obasan that doesn't seem like she watches movies. She's watching movies. Yeah. So I wish that was here in Singapore. So that's the thing that I'm thinking about. How do we cultivate that? I'm not saying that the old aunties not watching movies, because there definitely exists, but just not to that number I'm seeing over there. Yeah.
And you also wrote a really wonderful essay about your experiences watching movies in Japan on the Kinetoscope, your Substack.
Thank you for this plug, Eli.
Very organic, right?
Read it at www.thekinetoscope.com. I will put a link in the description. Yeah. And also last year, I did try to be more regular with the writing on the Kinetoscope as well. So I'm gonna, after coming back, I'm gonna try and keep that going this year. I don't know what I'm gonna write about, but let's find out, I guess. Yeah.
I, for one, am excited to read it. I don't know about Wilson, though.
Me too.
Throwing him very much so under the bus. Full disclosure, Wilson is getting over a respiratory illness, and I as well am getting over a respiratory illness, and every time I laugh, I cough and it hurts.
So the goal is to make Eli laugh more in this episode.
Perfect. I literally have pulled the muscles on both sides of my ribs because I cough too hard, and I'm moving like an old man.
Oh,
what's new?
Oh, geez.
Hey, good point. Good point. Get off my lawn.
Oh, man.
Yeah. How was 2024 in movies, guys?
The indisputable highlight for me was getting to see DD and Still Walking with you both in person. I mean,
I kind of forgot that happened last year.
It was a very full 2024. Like, aside from movies, it's been a very demanding year, I think, of all of us. I know that the shape of how I watch movies has changed. I definitely have the rhythm now of sort of watching fewer things in the first half of the year, and then in the back half of the year I realize, I have to watch things for our year in review.
For work.
For work. But I like that rhythm, and I get to just sort of choose what I want to see without pressure of needing to meet a standard.
Yeah.
And I get to talk about what I watch with you both. So that's the main draw for movies for me right now.
Yeah, I feel like keeping up with the year's movies is starting to feel like somewhat of a drag. Like, I still feel the want to do it, but I'm like, a lot of times I feel very disappointed by movies that come out in the year. And I'm like, maybe I want someone to tell me to watch this in 5 years rather than watching it this year.
Yeah. Actually, maybe we should do, like, instead of doing it in March, we should just do it like 5 years down the road. So do our 2025
That's
episode in 2030.
Because there are definitely lists that people make, right? Like 10 years after, like, what were the best movies in 2000?
Yeah.
Right. What are the movies that actually, stayed in the, I don't know what you want to call it, popular culture, like stay in people's memories. Because a lot of times I watch movies and the buzz is so great, and I'm like, people are going to forget about this movie in fucking 2 minutes.
Yeah.
But then even 10 years out or 20 years out or 30 years out, there won't be a right answer still, right? Like, it'll be in that moment, what are the top movies?
It's true.
By that token, I've become skeptical of ranking in general. Like, my top 5, I solidified 10 minutes before we started recording, and I will undoubtedly get it wrong, as I did last year.
Ranking is a whatever kind of exercise.
Yeah.
There's no point to it, but let's do it for fun.
That's why you are all here, so we still feel like we have to.
Yeah. I just like ranking to fight people.
It's good
to cause controversy and anger. Because we need more of that today.
Yes.
What about 2024 for you, Wilson?
Well, my 2024 was a rather, I guess, lopsided year in movie watching as well. Personally, I had other commitments that I was devoting a lot of my time to. I ran my first marathon last month, and I spent a lot of the back half of the year training for it, which I guess took up a lot of what my normal movie watching time would be consuming. But also similarly to Ben, I've been trying a lot harder to catch movies on the big screen, and I think not just that, but also feeling a pushback from myself from catching movies at home. I don't know if it's like my brain rot taking over due to
concur.
like my phone use, but I find it much harder to watch a movie at home now, which honestly sucks. Like hearing it coming out of my mouth like sucks. But I'm still so happy that I can just bring myself to a theater, like turn my phone off and like devote all of my attention to a movie playing on the big screen and let it like fully consume you. That is still one of the greatest feelings in the world, and I'm so glad I was able to do that a ton of times this past year. So I'm so happy that I was able to catch a lot of great pictures on the big screen. Big pictures, small pictures, international flicks, local pictures from Hong Kong. It was a very varied year of movie watching for me in terms of what I caught on the big screen. So I'm very grateful to actually the local Hong Kong distributors for, I don't know, putting these movies out there, because I know in some places, like if you live in some cities in the US or like not in a big city or somewhere,
It's hard.
that doesn't have a big movie watching culture, you sometimes won't get this amount of movies or like this vast array of films playing in the theater. So I'm very grateful for this year. That's my conclusion.
Do you know how many movies you saw in the theater this year? Last year, sorry.
I would have to check, but I think probably around
Yeah.
like 50, around 50, definitely. Yeah.
I'm at 103 in just 2024.
No way.
Which is
Just in theaters?
In theaters, yeah. Which is like one every, do the math, every like 3-something days. I was like, what? Really?
Wow. That's a lot of money.
I think I'm thankful for it. Is a lot of money, but I mean, if you rented these homes at home, it's like about half that price, I guess.
That's true.
I watched 53 movies total and fewer in theaters.
Of course. Yeah.
Why did you say of course?
Of course, the number will be lower, right?
Oh, okay. I thought you said,
That's
of
just
course, this
math.
whole thing.
Oh.
Yeah, okay.
Oh yeah, but of course. But
I mean, that
also,
too.
of course. Yeah. I think the good thing about last year is that I was able to watch a lot of older movies in the theaters, which is a huge privilege, I think. Like, obviously the AFE does these great retrospectives and they show older films, but also Projector, which is where I watch a lot of the films I watch now, which is like the only indie cinema,
Yes, love the projector.
shows a lot of older movies. Like, I remember them doing the Kubrick retrospective, and now they did the Lynch retrospective very recently. So I really like when theaters are able to show older films, and I wish actually there was some dedicated theater that would just only do that. Yeah. So if you have money and you want to invest in that and you want someone to do it, call me.
Yeah, same here for Hong Kong. Please call me.
Yeah, because I was looking at some of these Japanese cinemas, and some of them are almost exclusively showing mostly old films, right? And there was a market for that. And like, if anything, watching an old film on cinema is an even more premium experience, because like the time that it will come back to cinema could be like in the next 10 years, 20 years. You don't know, right? So
Yeah.
it becomes a much more precious experience, more so than watching a newer movie sometimes. Yeah.
Value of repertory theaters.
Yeah.
Totally.
Anyway.
What was the best rep screening that you went to this year? So non-new release. What was on the big screen? What was that?
For 2024?
Yeah, in the last calendar year.
I gotta look at these numbers. Sorry, I gotta look at these titles. Ooh, Viv L'Amour.
Ooh.
Oh.
Yang Kui-mei and...
SGIF, yeah. You can listen to our SGIF episode. Yeah.
That was lit, dude. Yeah.
Yeah, for me, it was probably, I watched Shunji Iwai's Love Letter for the first time on the big screen.
I've not seen it.
And I like watched it with a group of friends, and we were all like mind blown by the end of it and like bawling. It was incredible.
Actually, wow, there were so many other great older films I saw, like Helter Skelter, Fave, Poetry.
Lucky you,
Yeah,
Ben.
thank you. These are all AFA. Thanks, AFA.
I took a group of middle schoolers to see Aquila and the Bee last March, and that was a really nice experience.
Nice.
Oh,
Great
my
movie.
God. I remember watching that as a kid. I haven't seen that since I was a kid, but I think now that Kiki's fully grown into like this massive star, like A-lister, I think watching it back would probably be like incredible to see.
She has unreal charisma. It's like wild. She's imminently watchable in everything from Nope to Hot Ones.
I remember watching, someone asked, what's the name of the host? A question. So I don't know why they were asking him questions, but someone asked, like, do you ever have a crush on a guest? And his answer was Kiki Palmer.
Oh, Sean Evans. Yeah, it was Sean Evans and Emilia de Moldenberg talking.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. Anyway, should we move on to talking about some movies?
I got one thing to plug first.
Let's go.
I want to shout out my favorite reviews from Wilson and Ben of the past year.
Oh.
I write bullshit on Letterboxd, guys.
You do not write
I write nonsense.
bull excrement. Good stuff. From Wilson, I implore you to check out his review of The Delinquents, of How to Make Millions Before Grandma Dies, of Pulse, and of Challengers. And from Ben, take a look at The Circle, Kinds of Kindness, Secret Sunshine, and Retribution. And also, please do check out The Kinetoscope, because Ben's doing great writing over
Thank
there.
you.
Mix of travelogue and personal reflection and criticism in a way that I like a lot.
Thanks, Eli.
Not that I'm biased.
My biggest hype man is Eli.
Thank you, Eli. I similarly I still have not seen this film yet, but your review of Red Rooms, Eli,
Yeah, that intrigued me.
fantastic.
Yeah.
Let's just say we'll be talking about that more later.
Oh.
Okay, very good. Very good.
But thank you.
So, yeah, check out our letterboxes.
Yeah. Should we begin with these obligatory mentions that we have listed that we should talk about, quote unquote? The big movies that had a lot of buzz this year, whether good or bad. Most of them good, but some not so good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Where should we begin?
Let's start with the indisputable winner of the Oscars of 2024, Sean Baker's Anora. I think I saw this movie first because I saw it at New York Film Festival. Check out my episode on New York Film Festival.
Yeah. You were big on this, and then I remember Wilson went to watch it, and he was disappointed. And I went to watch it, and I was also disappointed. And it was a pretty staggered watching cadence for the three of us. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'll say that I think my estimation of it has decreased as time has gone on, though not my opinion of the craft of it and Mikey Madison's performance. I think it has great moments, but I do tend to agree with Wilson's Letterboxd review that it winds up being somewhat unnecessarily cruel to Annie in the back half, and we kind of lose her agency in it.
Yeah.
There's actually a lot of interesting essays that are coming out critiquing, which I actually think is a good thing.
Yeah.
Like, I think it's very interesting that people are either praising it or not. And
Yeah.
I think even though I actually think the film is not problematic enough, that it's actually been problematic enough for people to have a discourse about it, which is actually a good thing. So I think somehow Baker has threaded the needle to create something that is something that you can talk about. So it's not such a neat film, although I personally find it's a little neat. Yeah. But maybe I'm not thinking about it so hard. But it's definitely, I rather a movie that does not feel undeniable win the Oscar, because that's way more interesting, because it means people watching all the best pictures will watch this and be having much more disparate responses, and that's a much more interesting movie to have that kind of push for more people to watch it. Yeah, and it is also bringing up really interesting discourse about how Baker has been doing his career, because so many of his films, if not all of his films, have been about sex workers or people in sex work industries. And I think that has been pretty fascinating to look at. Yeah, although I'm still of the mind that I think he's pretty respectful to the people and as well as the industry in general.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just don't think Anora is his best work, generally.
I agree.
Yeah, I agree with everything that Ben says. And I honestly, like, I'm still very happy that it won the Oscar. Like, because it still feels like such an unexpected film for the Academy to embrace and the industry to embrace. Because even though maybe I would put something like Conclave above it in terms of its craft and the way that the film is constructed and my enjoyment of it, Conclave still feels like such a safe pick for the Academy compared to something like Anora. So I'm so glad that people are catching it, and by extension of that, people are also catching Baker's other films. I would say that Tangerine is one of the most boldly directed American indie features of that I've ever seen, and I think when people are criticizing this film saying that, this doesn't have representation of POC or trans sex workers, which are a big part of the sex worker community in the US right now, Tangerine is that, and it's wacky, it's so much fun, and fucking shot on iPhones. It's so crazy. And I'm glad this is opening the door for people to find a film like that.
Yeah, agreed. Florida Project has one of my favorite endings, even though it's not a top Eli movie. I think it brilliantly chastises the viewer for watching and really interrogates what you get out of watching that movie in a really smart way. I'll also say that Mikey Madison's performance has turned me towards starting to watch Better Things, which I know is a Ben favorite.
Finally. I've been talking about this for years.
Vindicated.
Years. I saw her first, guys.
True.
It's finally paying off.
Yeah. Man, it's also her winning the Oscar over Demi Moore was pretty crazy.
Yeah.
That was a pretty crazy moment for the Oscars. And
the best actress does tend to go to the younger ingenue than it does for the male category.
Interesting,
but this did kind of feel like Demi Moore's moment.
Yeah.
Or it should have been, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah.
Although I have some friends talking about how Mikey Madison's dress is not very good, which I do kind of agree with.
That was the pink one with the black
it
corsage.
just was not good on her.
Yeah. And Demi had a winning outfit. She she dressed to win that night.
Yeah.
I felt bad for Demi.
Yeah. It's okay. The Oscars are meaningless anyway.
Everyone's a winner.
Let's move on.
Okay.
Eli's already mentioned it. Conclave. How are we feeling about Conclave?
I'll be saying more about it later.
Yeah, I like Conclave a lot too. Yeah.
Conclave rules.
I loved Conclave. I caught it with my mom. This was I was looking for a movie to watch that with my mom that would be okay, we both would enjoy it. And
Catholics.
My mom's Catholic. so yeah, and I think this approaches the Catholic Church in a way that it doesn't, I think, offend Catholics at all, because I don't think it's
interesting.
It is a movie sort of about faith, but it's not really about faith. It's about church politics and
it's about voting.
Yeah,
it's about student president. That's what the movie's about. You know what I mean? This could be anime.
This is election.
Someone make it anime.
Yeah. But I found the plot to be so tight and the scripting to be so well done, and all these performances hitting, every single performance hitting so well for me. And it's just so hard when you think back on this film to really find a flaw in it, and I was just enjoying myself throughout.
I really enjoyed it. I think on my long list it's number 10 actually.
Wow.
Yeah, it's up on my list. It's high on my list. Yeah, and it's just a fun movie, and you're about voting and Catholic people in the
Yeah.
Vatican. How is that entertaining? And it is one of the most entertaining movies of 2024, I would say. And the pace of it is just fantastic. The music cues, ooh, so good.
Yeah.
Great movie. Yeah, recommended. Highly recommended. Yeah.
We'll hear more from Eli.
Also, if you're listening to this now, I think if you're in Singapore, you can watch this still when this episode comes out. I don't know, maybe, possible. Yeah.
Okay, let's keep it going. Next film is the big long film of the year. It is The Brutalist.
Brutalist. Boo.
Wait, did I
don't
like
like
this
this.
the most out of all of you guys?
Yeah, you liked it a lot more than I expected, but I was like, wow.
Oh, wow.
I don't
Okay.
dislike it.
I dislike it.
But why don't we go from least favorite to favorite? Then
Okay. I think I go first. I had a very interesting experience. I watched it with my friend and he hated it. And then the next day he was like, I think it made me amazing. He was confused. And I understand why it has a kind of whiplash effect in terms of people appreciating it. But I just think it's very uninteresting. Outside of everything about it, like the politics of it, all that crap, whether the architecture is good or not, like all that crap, I just didn't find the story interesting at all. And like I was like, what is this movie about? Like what are we doing here? And like, does it need to be 4 hours long? I don't think so. I think there's maybe a average movie in it if it was cut down to size.
yes.
But the fact that it thought its average movie was worth 4 hours makes it a bad movie. So that's why I'm at with this, because I was frankly quite bored with it. And I found it to also have a lot of sensationalist plotting in a way that felt a little demeaning to its characters, in a way that I find is not very well done. Because I'm not against any inclusion of some of these events, but it's just that I just like, really? This is how you're going to use this? And like, what's the point of that?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's where I land on this. That's a thumbs down from Ben if it didn't get through to you.
My thumb is going every which way. I think by design, The Brutalist is a little evasive with, or maybe not by design. I don't know. I kind of come back to I don't know what this movie wants to do. If it's trying to be profound and frustrating, or if it's trying to be down the middle, classic kind of biopic-y, entertaining. I think it kind of accomplishes both and neither. And part of why it's so interesting to sit with and talk about is because it's very shifty and kind of elusive in a way that Vox Lux was similarly in its front half angling towards some interesting stuff, and then it kind of just walks away from it in the back half. Brutalist, and that's Brady Corbet's prior feature. Brutalist kind of does that too. And at the same time, I'm not uninterested in those things it walks away from, like thinking about Jewishness and assimilation in the 20th century in America, thinking about how that projects forward into 21st century politics of Jewishness in America, thinking about the place of Israel in American history, in American Jewish identity or history, questioning if it even has a place there, thinking about compromise in art making, high budget art making. There's so much that could be there, and it chooses to go with some pretty rote plotting. And I agree with Ben that it is condescending to its characters in that choice. So I don't know.
It's surprising that it tries to dig into so many themes and it has the time for it, but it doesn't actually dig in at all.
Yeah, it chooses the most by the numbers endings, except for the very final scene, which I think is pretty brilliantly frustrating.
I think that's interesting. I like where it's pointing towards, but I was thinking the movie's not really setting it up to help me understand what that is really about. Really.
Yeah, it's like a choose your own conclusion kind of thing.
And a lot of, I would say, the first 3/4 of the film felt pretty unnecessarily long. to get to that final point, which was interesting. Yeah. Wilson.
I think I still liked it. I think I agree with everything you guys have said, but I still think the process of me watching the film itself, like, I think I was impressed and I was sold and I was tuned in for probably 3/4 of the entire runtime. I was like there. I was like eating all these performances up. I was marveling at the cinematography. But I think when the film was marching towards its conclusion, I was similarly thinking about, oh my gosh, I've invested so much of this time into this story and into these characters, and why am I still feeling so like lost by the end? Like, I don't understand why, like why we're getting this. But I think still coming away from it feeling like I had a good experience because I enjoyed so many elements of it, like including that Adrien Brody performance, which I think is pretty fantastic.
I think it's good.
Just, I don't want to bring meta narratives into the film, but knowing that this was made, like, he like scrapped together this movie and like made it for so cheap and just gave him and Mona Fastfold, his wife, they like gave a lot of their lives to this movie, certainly affected how I felt about this, because of course I would love to support this kind of filmmaking in this age of mega blockbusters that like studios are just throwing money at, when you could be giving money to someone who has a really singular vision like Brady Corbet's, even if it's not, I don't know, crystallized.
Yeah, agreed. I also think that the narrative around the AI use in the movie was overblown and bad faith. If it's targeted as it was, fine. To pin the slippery slope on the Brutalist isn't really fair.
Yeah.
And I think that hurt its Oscar chances.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, and that was definitely an Oscars hit. I bet that was some like other competitor shooting at 24. Yeah.
Did you all read that Neon spent like 3 times the budget of Anora on the marketing for the campaign? Something like that.
They're so good at the Oscars game. They know what they're doing.
Well, I'm like, how does that money come back to you? Does getting an Oscars make you $80 million? How's that work? I don't know. Like, that's an insane number. Yeah, anyway.
Yeah. I have no clue.
Moving on. Another...
One more thing.
Okay, go ahead.
I think it's so funny, speaking of Adrien Brody's performance, that he was so hungry for the Oscar. He got it. He's in that rarefied position of having won 2 Oscars, and his speech was so positively venereal that he will never again win an Oscar. People are never going to vote for him again.
I didn't even listen to it. Tell me what happened, because I actually didn't listen to the speech.
I did not watch the interview, the speech at all.
Give me the Cliff Notes. What's the Cliff Notes?
He got up there and had the longest ever Oscar speech.
Yeah.
He shushed the playoff music. He just self-aggrandized for minutes on end, said nothing of substance, and then left.
Was he talking about how it took him a long time to get back to the stage to get another Oscar or something like that?
Yeah.
Like he'd been working so hard and the industry forgot about him, something like that.
Basically.
I even know.
He seems like such a putz. Forgive me.
Anyway.
Good thing he's not a writer.
Let's talk about indie darling. Ramell Ross? Is that
Ramell
right?
Ross.
Ramell Ross. Sis. Featured narrative debut, if I'm not wrong, Nickel Boys, which is based on a novel by Colson Whitehead. He had like a documentary before that.
Yeah,
It
is really the doc I really enjoyed. Yeah, Hale County this morning, this evening, I really liked.
Yeah. What do you guys think about this movie? Because I saw it pretty recently. Yeah.
This was one that I...
Oh, okay.
Yeah, this was one that I haven't seen, yeah.
I'm the only one that saw it. Oh, okay. I think it's really interesting to watch. I think there's a lot of promise. I do personally feel that the formal game here, which is the big gimmick, which is the POV shooting, is fine. But then there was actually more formal stuff happening with this film that I think works against the movie a lot in terms of what it wants to be. Because it takes on the tone of like a Moonlight kind of movie, which is fine. I think the tone is good. And I think it works. And I think it's a very emotional story. It's just that he starts doing like way too much with experimenting with form as well as narrative structure in a way that really takes me out of it a lot, in a way that makes it very difficult to get into it. I think the POV stuff is completely fine, but the fact that he stacks on more stuff on top of that really starts to work against the emotion and the tone of it for me, that I can't really reconcile, and I'm kind of curious what he's going to do next, really. Yeah, but I'm kind of glad that this is getting an interesting, good response, because it's also a pretty experimental film to get into. So that's quite nice to have this be put on, to be pushed a bit to like regular folks to watch. I think it's quite fun. And I think the story is good. Like, generally speaking, the story behind it is good. Yeah.
And it is true that there really were basically penitentiaries that young black men were sent to be detained and have their labor taken advantage of.
I think that part of it, I think that's the documentary side of him coming through. That he's using this narrative thing because he's actually very interested in the real life story that this is inspired by. And I think that in itself makes it worth kind of watching, to have an emotional entryway into the story. A real story is the value of the film more than anything, because I think the most emotional parts of the film when you learn about the real stuff is really when it's quite hard to watch in a way that is emotional and quite sensitive too. Yeah, so I think that stuff is interesting. Yeah.
I'll recommend the novel of the same name by Colson Whitehead as well, on which the movie is based. Great read.
Okay, let's move on.
Moving on, Richard Linklater is looking like he's having a big year this upcoming year with his Jean-Luc Godard movie. So,
what? What? This is the first I'm hearing about this.
He's making a movie about the making of Breathless.
What?
And it's supposed to get a fall festival release and might be one of the big Oscar hitters.
Interesting.
In 2025.
Who's playing Jean-Luc Godard?
Apparently someone that's really good looking. I heard on another podcast.
Interesting. Yeah. Well, he made this movie Hitman last year that I think was out on Netflix. I don't know. I watched it on Netflix.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They really bombed the release of that one, huh?
Yeah, I liked it. I thought it was fun. I thought it was a star-making movie for those two actors whose names I'm completely blanking on right now.
And Audiard Arjona. Amazing. Stars.
Can you even say they're stars if you can't even remember their names?
I remember their faces.
I know he's got a beard. She's got black hair. Oh.
Dude. Also, what's her name again? Arjona?
Audiard Arjona and Glenn
she's
Powell.
So hot. It was like ridiculous. I was watching this movie. I was like, this is just her movie, really. Ridiculous movie.
They have great chemistry too,
but also fun and like fun and sexy.
Very sexy.
Yeah.
Hitman is a classic. Like, you know the saying of a good movie is 3 good scenes and no bad ones.
Oh.
This is one of those movies to me. It just like kind of is a clear swing, clear hit. I don't know. I'm not following through on that sport analogy.
I think that it's good and it's fun, but because of its genre mashup, I guess you could call it, I would say its core is that it's a romantic comedy.
Agreed.
But because it's a genre mashup, it's got like this guy's a hitman, and it's got acting in it, and it's got like lying and mystery, that it's a very confusing sell for most people. They're like, what is this movie? So I think that's what's working against it. Like, I think people will forget about this, but I think it's a pretty bright spot in his filmography, really. And it's also pretty unique in what it really is. Yeah.
Yeah, agreed. It's so much fun. That climactic scene, which I won't spoil, but it's like the way it's set up and then pays off is so one of my favorite scenes of the year, easily.
Oh, man.
Did you see this, Wilson?
Yeah, I think I fell asleep through a lot of it.
Yeah. I think it's fair. It's a bit of a
Yeah.
loose.
I think I was sleepy. Okay, we can move on.
Move on. Go.
Next up is a movie that I adored last year. This was it like just missed my top 5, but this is Payal Kapadia's, also her feature narrative debut, All We Imagine Is Light. I wrote a pretty long review on Letterboxd about this, and I was thinking a lot about Wong Kar-wai when watching it, and not just like his stylistic tendencies, but I guess the approach to filmmaking that he has that I feel like Payal Kapadia also embodies when making this film. Something about the way that she envisions the city that she sets this film in, and like the way that Mumbai is lit up, the way that she blends documentary footage with footage of her characters walking through streets. There's a pulse to this city that I felt in my heart while watching this. And I think the way that these stories come together are so beautiful, and how this sort of transforms into a magical realist story set in this seaside town by the end of this film is also something that I was not expecting at all, but I found to be a perfect ending for this movie and these characters. And I really grew to love these 3 women at the center of this film by the end of it. Please check this out if you haven't seen it yet. I think this is one of like those few gems from this year that are like, wow, this is a really, really great film.
I know so many people who really liked it. I unfortunately didn't feel that much from it, and I can't tell you why. Like, it's really one of those things that I cannot tell you why. I was also maybe sleepy, but yeah, I think somehow the emotion of it was just not grabbing me for whatever reason. Because I think generally I liked all the characters. I thought the acting was really good, but something about it was maybe slightly too languid for me that it was losing me. Yeah. But the ending was really interesting, I thought, and I really liked where it was going with that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of like Memoria. Did you think of Memoria when you were thinking about that ending?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So I was like, maybe more of the movie should have been like this, but maybe not. I don't know. It's hard to say. I think it just was maybe, honestly, I can't tell you. It's been a while since I've seen it. Yeah, It's just one of those, like, the hooks just didn't get into me. Like, it's that kind of emotional movie, and you need the hook into you. And if it doesn't, it's not going to work.
Yeah. I think you'd really like this one, Eli, actually.
Yeah.
So,
I think so.
I'm really catch it.
I'm intrigued by what you're all saying.
Yeah.
My ears perk up at the mention of Memoria, so.
Yeah. Wilson knows how to sell you a movie.
I know. Okay, next film. This is Zilbalodis' second feature film, Flow, which, like, against all odds, won the Best Animated Feature Oscar. Who saw this out of the 3 of us? I did.
I saw it. Very recently. I saw it last week.
Ooh.
At home.
I am a Zilbalodis fan from like a few years back when his first film, I think it was called Away, came out, and I caught Away that year because I read about this animated feature that this one man made all by himself. And I was like, this cannot be. And I watched it, and I was really blown away by how beautiful it looked, and with this really moving story that was told without any dialogue. And I think he applies a similar thing here to Flow, but just this time he's working with a bigger team, but now with animals. And I adore this movie. I adore this movie so much. I love how all these animal characters are so fleshed out in this film just by seeing their actions in these scenes, and there's sort of an immersive quality to the video game-esque animation style. I don't know how they do it. Maybe it's like that 3D rendering, or I don't understand how that works, but it really brought me into the story. And yeah, I love dogs. I love cats. I love birds.
Aminals. I thought the animation was really good, and I'm glad that, like, I would say that compared to like fucking Pixar, like obviously the fidelity of the animation is not there, but fidelity is fucking unimportant.
Agreed.
Right? Expressiveness is important, and I think the lighting in this is freaking fantastic. The water stuff, like, is it realistic? No, but just like in my favorite video games, the best graphics are the most graphics. The best graphics are the most expressive, interesting, emotional graphics that fit a story, which is how we talk about movies at all times. So it's not about having like every single hair animated. Like, that's not interesting for animation, you know? It's more about this fucking cat looks like a cat. It moves like a cat. It feels like a real ass cat, you know? And I think the animation of the animals, they really feel like animals in a way that I don't think Pixar is doing, because Pixar is doing cartoons, you know what I mean? Most of the DreamWorks and Pixar, they're doing cartoons. And this is, yes, it's animated, but they feel more real. Although they maybe think less like animals than they could, but they look and feel more real in their behaviors and the way that they interact with each other. And of course, the fact that they don't talk, but still.
Yeah, or just that Pixar has a house style that maps onto most every movie with some exceptions.
Mm.
But every movie needs something slightly different.
Mm.
Mm.
Let's flow on over to the next film.
I love that.
Emilia, Perez, which I did not see, and I will not see, but one of us decided that we're going to take the bullet and watch this movie that's directed by Jacques Audiard.
Thanks, Wilson.
You're welcome. What can I say? Changing the body changes society. Changes society changes the soul. Changing the soul changes society. Changing society changes it all.
What?
I think this quote from the movie embodies a lot of what I feel about Emilia Perez, which is a whole lot of nothing. I think earlier on, I was talking about, I think it's so great, like, studios should be giving money to directors with singular visions. But I feel like with Jacques Audiard, they should stop. Stop giving this man money. Do not give this man money to make more movies. I think this movie is so, like, soulless. Like, what, like, who the fuck makes a musical that, like, just doesn't have tunes in it? There's like no like general understanding of like melody or like cadence of singing. Like I was so astounded at how bad all the music sounded. On top of that, like how boring all the sung dialogue is. Yeah, I'm just shocked at how Hollywood ate this up, but actually in the first place how this movie was made. Like, wow, what, like, a sore spot in this whole year of movie making, made even sorer by Carla Sofia Gascon's Twitter presence. I don't know what to say. I'm happy for Zoe Saldana. I don't think it should have been for this movie. I think it should have been for The Way of Water a few years ago, honestly.
Yeah.
But, oh man, like, I had to sit through that, guys. And that was painful.
No, you didn't. You really didn't have to. No one asked you to do this.
I think I know why this movie became such a hot Oscar contender, and I think would have won Best Picture had it not been for Carla Sofia Gascon's Twitter presence.
Wow.
I think that in a moment after, let's say, a significant election in American history, I think Hollywood glommed onto a movie that on its face has progressive representational politics of transness of Central America. But this is a nice example of how representation in and of itself does not mean progress or progressiveness, because this movie gets things incorrect about being trans, like at a basic biological, physical level. This movie Audiard bragged about how he did no research about Mexico. And I don't know what to say. Like, I think this is a classic Hollywood patting itself on the back for doing a good job when the content of the movie begs otherwise.
Yeah, burn it.
Well, apparently there were no Mexican actors in the main roles.
Correct.
Because the casting director said that was a lack of talent.
Also, cringiest Oscars acceptance speech by the best song winners for this, for Elmo. Emilia. As they're playing them off.
Anyway.
How could their songwriters not sing? They can't sing.
You gotta watch the movie, Eli.
We gotta move faster. We gotta go.
Speaking of sing. Sing.
I almost watched this week, but I did not. Someone tell me about it.
Oh my god!
I didn't.
Sing. I love Sing Sing. Sing Sing was the last movie that I saw before recording this episode.
Really?
Yeah. It is about a group of men who are incarcerated at this prison called Sing Sing, who are part of this theater group, and they're putting on a play. The main character is played by Coleman Domingo, and the rest of the cast is formed by, I think previous inmates of Sing Sing, and it's shot in this very like verite way, and I thought that the performances in this were really, really magical. Like, I really felt, maybe it was because like a lot of people were playing themselves, but there was so much heart and humanity to this film. And I think Greg Kwedar, who directed it, gave a lot of space to these actors' own stories to be put into this film. And it's just very, very moving, and just a very, very beautiful picture. Yeah, I loved it.
I will watch it maybe next week. I kept falling off my schedule, unfortunately.
Okay, let's move on to the movie that lost Demi Moore the Best Actress Oscar, The Substance. I will speak about this later.
I will speak about this now. Or no, maybe I'll speak about it later.
Ooh.
Because I did not like this at all.
Ben, I think you should speak about it now.
Okay, I'll talk about it now.
Getting it out of the way so he can have the spotlight later.
Yeah, like, I think, honestly, the problem I have with this film is that I think it's very boring. And I think it's very repetitive. And the thing it is missing is relationships. Because Demi Moore's character, whose name I can't remember, doesn't actually...
Sparkle?
Yes.
Yeah, doesn't actually have any... like, what do you call it? There has no relationships. All her scenes are actually by herself. And even after she transforms into... I forgot. What's her name?
Margaret Qualley.
Margaret Qualley.
Sue.
My brain's not working.
Sue.
Yeah. Even after she transforms to a younger version of herself, she doesn't have scenes with other people. A lot of this film is like a one-person show, which makes it very difficult to watch in terms of drama because there's no dramatic tension with other characters. It's mostly just her looking in a mirror. And then after a while, she starts fighting literally herself at some point. And I find that doesn't help her tell the themes that she wants to tell because Image is about other people, not about how you see yourself, you know? And so I think that lacking that is a big knock against it. So it feels a little surface level in terms of what it's trying to say about how women see themselves and think about aging. Yeah, and I also think there is a interesting counter to the film, which is like the monster that she thinks she's becoming is also older, and then the film starts to run with that as its horror element, where like somebody looking old is scary, which also works against itself.
Yeah. I see what you mean.
So it is kind of not quite there, I think, in what it's trying to say. Yeah, and I just, even if I think of it as schlock, I don't think it's very fun because the first like 3/4 were pretty boring to me because of the repetitiveness of the scenes of just like watching Demi Moore look in the mirror and hate herself. And I'm like, okay, sure, girl, just move on. Yeah. You know, I really wanted. There was supposed to be there could have been a scene where like she could have gone on this date. Then there's a huge scene that people love where she doesn't go on the date, and I really want her to go on the date because I think it's way more interesting to see what would happen on that date when you feel old, rather than I'm not gonna go and then just cry by myself at home. And I like that was an opportunity for dramatic tension that was missed completely, even though it was right there on the table. And I think that's like my main gripe. There's just no relationships in this. Yeah, and that stops it from having real dramatic tension. Yeah. That's where I'm at. Yeah.
I'm glad you spoke about it now.
We'll hear a different side of this later. Let's go.
Wow.
I did not watch Wicked, which is the next film on our list. What?
This is the meme. This is what everyone's doing from Wicked.
I didn't see the meme.
What?
The meme.
Oh my gosh.
I didn't. I'm not
It's
online,
the ending
guys.
of Defying Gravity.
All right, tell me about this movie, guys.
I didn't see it.
Tell me about this movie, Wilson.
I mean, Jon M. Chu, man. Like, I guess, I did enjoy Crazy Rich Asians, but oh my god, like, what a misstep here. I feel like
Really?
there are, like, Wicked has bones of a great musical. That's why it's a great musical. Like, I think there's a really great story there. I think the characters are super interesting. The songs are incredible. And he has such a brilliant cast, like, especially the two leads, Cynthia Erivo and Ariana Grande, who are fantastic singers that are matched by really like equally as fantastic acting chops. But I just feel like the way that this movie is staged and this like the music, it's a musical, like staging's the important, like a very important aspect of it, and the filming of it is so poor and like sour feeling. Like I really felt like he could have, like with any other director, this could have looked and felt so much better and cleaner, and I think would have flowed a lot better from a pacing perspective as well.
Flow.
Like, like how do you make a maybe 2.5 hour musical into like two separate 2.5 hour movies? I do not know.
When I heard that, I already knew. I was like, that's gonna be bad.
But you really, like, I just feel like there's such a missed opportunity here. And I don't think part 2, because part 1 and part 2 were filmed back to back, I don't think part 2's gonna be any better, honestly.
Really?
But I will be seated. Unfortunately.
But it's making money, right? And I think that's what this movie wanted to do.
Yeah, it's making good money. Yeah, good for them.
And good for them. But I think these 2-part films, you know, it's a cash grab thing, and once you do that, like a lot of the film starts becoming a little bit like creatively bankrupt.
Yeah.
From just the surface level of like, why exactly as you said, why does a 2.5 hour musical need to be 5 hours? It's already 2.5 hours. That doesn't make sense. Yeah, like why would you, on paper it sounds like it has zero narrative pacing. Right? Like just the numbers tell you the story. So anyway,
Glinda married SpongeBob though.
What? Tom Kenny's in this?
Glinda married SpongeBob.
I don't think they got married.
Glinda married SpongeBob. If I repeat it, it becomes true.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, let's move on. How are we doing this part?
Glinda married SpongeBob, just so you know.
Clinton married SpongeBob?
Clinton married SpongeBob?
Oh my gosh. This is the point of the this is where we are at right now. Okay,
I'm just chilling in Oz.
We have some films that we covered this year on the podcast that we would like to talk about because they're not on our lists. Or maybe they are. So these are deep cut movies. I'm going to start with All Shall Be Well. I did an interview with Ray Yeung earlier this year. It was one of the few interview highlights of this year that I had.
Yeah.
I was very, very lucky. And Ben also got to catch this as part of his SGIF coverage.
Yeah.
Great film. I think this is a very heartfelt drama about this woman trying to take control of her life and her possessions after her lover passes away, and her lover's family is trying to take everything from her because they were a lesbian couple. But I thought the performances were all really strong. Yeah, very, very good movie.
Yeah. Listen to us talk about this on the SGIF episode as well as the HKIF episode.
Not the HKIF episode, just my interview with Ray Yeung. Yeah.
Oh, just your interview. Yeah. But I talked about this. I think we talked about this a little bit on the SGIF episode. Definitely.
Yes. I also got to interview Vera Drew this year for The People's Joker.
Yeah.
Great movie. Did any of you guys catch this one?
No, it also fell off my list, but I will at some point.
Oh my gosh.
Same.
This is one of, I think, the most like singular visions of directing this past year. I think Vera Drew's reimagining of this Joker origin story and like meshing that with her own personal coming out story as a trans woman is so well done. And I think from a visual standpoint, her using mixed media and a lot of green screen effects to tell the story is so novel as well. And the dialogue is so funny. I just found it sitting in my head in its own space, like that I feel like is like sort of unoccupied. Like I don't think anyone has mined this territory yet. So very big shout out to this film, and also my interview with Vera Drew. She's fantastic.
Yeah.
Okay, one more interview that I did this year. I've been busy, boys.
By the way, these are all great interviews, very worth listening to.
Yes.
Thanks, guys.
Please do. Please listen.
As a skilled
listeners.
interviewer.
Yes.
And it's rare to get like an hour-long interview, actually.
I know.
Sometimes.
Yeah, true.
And I think it's great that Wilson was able to get these pretty long and deep interviews with these filmmakers, and sometimes not necessarily just talking about the film itself, right? Talking about things that surround the film, the making of the film. And I think that's very fruitful, useful information. And like these are pretty either new filmmakers or filmmakers that haven't had a lot of exposure, I would say. Yeah.
Yeah. But I think they're all approaching this art of filmmaking from different perspectives, like whether it be from different regions or different frames of mind. Like, I think it was really, really interesting talking to, like, especially these three directors this year, because I got very, very different views on filmmaking. This last director I talked to is Neo Sora, and his film Happy End, his narrative feature debut, is a coming-of-age story of these kids growing up in a near future in Japan that are getting targeted by this. What is it? How would you say this sort of thing gets installed in their school that tracks them? That sort of like Big Brother.
I mean, it's basically a film about surveillance, but it's really a film about friendship.
Yes,
and how it slowly dissolves, and it's set in near future Tokyo. And it's really just a film about friendship and how you kind of drift apart from like your bestie, really.
Yeah, due to political differences.
Yeah. I really enjoyed this. This is high on my list at somewhere in the top 20 or something. Yeah, and it's a very strong feature debut and full of interesting detail, like near future sci-fi detail that I think usually I would find to be extraneous, but I think Neo Sora gives good reason for having these things in there, and it does give it a nice texture that also differentiates him from other Japanese filmmakers and also from younger American filmmakers. So he is able to kind of have this split national identity, which I think is really interesting, and that allows the film to also kind of feel like it's not necessarily part of either side, but either kind of like, what do you call it, film movement type of things. So that mix is really interesting, and I think that's why it feels a bit more unique, because his influences are a bit more diverse. Yeah.
I totally get what you mean, Ben. I've been thinking about how in this globalized time, we've cherished and kind of tried to pigeonhole different national cinemas.
Yep.
And I loved hearing in Wilson's interview about that transnationalism in influence, in political thinking, in style. I'm really excited to catch this one as soon as it's in theaters in the States. And yeah, this is my favorite of the 3 interviews that you did. I think you asked such sharp questions, and Neo's a very generous speaker and very open with his process and his thoughts.
Yeah, he really is. Shout out to
Let's
Neo.
go Wes.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
Go West. We're not biased.
Not at all.
Not at all. Moving on to maybe just a quick shout out. We covered Ethan Coen's recent solo directorial. Was it solo? It wasn't.
Yeah, his
Was
solo.
it solo? No, it was solo.
He directed it solo.
No, he co-directed with Trisha Cook, but she didn't get the credit because she's not DGA.
Oh, right. We did talk about this on the episode.
On
Yeah.
paper, solo directorial debut from Ethan Coen, but technically co-directed with his co-writer Trisha Cook, which is Driveway Dolls. But you can hear us talk about this movie on the episode that we did on it.
Beep, beep.
Beep, beep.
Let's ride.
Similarly, you can hear our thoughts on the new Wallace and Gromit film on an upcoming episode of the podcast.
Oh,
Maybe just a quick teaser. I really liked it.
Yeah.
love it.
Watch this
Awesome.
movie. It's fun.
Yeah.
It's on Netflix and it's cute. It's got
It is.
Wallace and Gromit. And it's got Feathers McGraw.
Yeah! Who there's now a statue of in Nick Park's hometown.
Are you
No
serious?
way.
Yes! A bronze statue of Feathers McGraw, glove on his head, holding the remote control.
Oh my gosh.
Wow. We're really just making statues of criminals now. Incredible.
That's so good.
The world is going in this direction.
Oh my gosh.
I thought it was just a statue of a chicken.
Oh.
I thought it was a statue of a nun. And similarly, you can also look forward to our coverage on the 2 out of 3 new Kiyoshi Kurosawa movies that came out in 2024. We started our journey with Kiyoshi Kurosawa this year, so it was pretty incredible to have a year with an output like this from my man Kiyoshi Kurosawa. I will say that I loved Cloud and I really liked Chime. I haven't seen the Serpent's Path remake yet, but both of these feel very, very classic Kurosawa.
Yeah.
Even I know Cloud is not hitting people, which I'm so astounded by, because I'm like, oh, it's so like weird and like heady, and I'm like, of course people are not liking this. But I like it. It just takes all the wrong turns in the best way for Kurosawa. Yeah, those are my 2 cents.
And of course, the Guadagninos, which
Yeah!
we've already covered Challengers.
Yeah!
Which is actually how the podcast kind of came back.
Here's our resurrection.
That's our return to regular scheduled programming. Yeah, thank you, Luca. You helped us get there.
And we've not recorded an episode on Queer yet, right?
Not yet, but soon, because I have not caught it, but I will, hopefully in the theaters. Please, Shaw Cinemas, do not throw it off the schedule. I need to watch this movie.
Yeah.
I'm begging.
But you can hear ELI'S thoughts on Queer in our New York Film
Yes.
Festival coverage this year.
Mhm.
And I will be talking about movies later.
I called my shot that Wilson was going to love this movie. I was correct.
Correct.
Badoom.
All right. Let us get to the meat and potatoes.
Yeah.
We did the extremely long 5-course appetizer. Now we're here. We're going to talk about other movies we really, really liked.
Yeah. Oh, Megalopolis?
Oh, we totally forgot to talk about that.
I mean, I kind of want to put it in my honorable mentions. It's bottom of my list.
Sure, let's talk about it. So before you go, Wilson and I actually watched this together in IMAX
Oh.
when he came over to get a tattoo. And it was like he came in, he flew in, and then we immediately went to watch this in IMAX.
Wait, I didn't realize that he was flying to Singapore to get a tattoo.
Yeah, this happened. You weren't there, but it was like a different time that he was in Singapore. Yeah, and we did not like that.
Yeah. Movie is stinky,
Movie no good. Mega
but really funny.
Lollapolis.
I was screaming when you guys brought up Megalopolis. Oh my god.
Go back to the club.
What a colossal flop.
Okay, what do y'all think about this idea that it's actually... Okay, one, some people actually really like it, and then two, celebrating the fact that it's okay to have such a mega expensive flop.
I don't know. I think I love Adam Driver, and I kind of am willing to excuse anything he does. He moves in such interesting, graceful ways that are always unique to his character. I've said this before. I think I said this when we talked about White Noise, when we talked about Annette, and it is also true here. He just happens to be playing a total... What's a kinder word for douche? Not getting there.
You can say douche.
A-hole.
It's a movie that thinks it has something to say and doesn't.
It does not.
It's completely vapid.
Yeah.
And at the same time, I get Francis Ford Coppola's impulse to be like, we can come together to solve problems. Like, that's a nice thought, but it's a little naive.
Yeah. Like, is Adam Driver the hero of the story?
Yeah, because he's the Francis Ford Coppola stand-in.
Yeah, but this is your hero? Like, it's very confusing.
Right.
You know? And for the budget of this film, it does not look very good.
No.
I love that it doesn't look good.
I don't love that it's wasting my time, and I also don't love watching bad movies. And I don't like that he spent all this money on this, because I'd rather he spend the money on something else. Like, even if it was just like giving it to charity, honestly.
Yeah,
like,
good point.
You know what
Good
I mean?
point.
Like, that's the thing.
Good
Like,
point.
like, movies are expensive endeavors, and like, if it's gonna be this masturbatory thing, like, I don't want to celebrate it, especially when it costs this much money. Like, I don't, you know.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I either give it away or like help someone else make a movie.
Yeah.
You know, like you're old. Just you're old.
You're old.
Think of how
Make
much-
good. You've already made good movies. You can stop. You know.
Think of how much time, effort, and capital Martin Scorsese has put into raising the next generation of filmmakers.
Yeah.
Everyone
While still
from
doing
Joanna
his own
Hogg to
thing.
the Safdies
Yeah.
to preserving world film.
Yeah. And I love Marty for that. Thanks, Marty.
Same.
Yeah. Yeah, that's Mega Flopless.
Aubrey
Cool.
Plaza's great.
Wilson.
Yeah,
Sorry, what?
Auntie, wow.
Oh, true. Yeah.
Wow, Platinum.
Wow, Platinum. She was great. My heart goes out to her.
Oh,
Yeah, same.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna do my honorable mentions. I'm just gonna rattle off, and if you guys
Yes.
want to jump in,
Go for
you
it.
can jump in.
Aye,
So,
aye.
because we're doing top 5, right? So I'm just gonna talk about my top 6 to 10. Okay,
Cool.
Go for it.
we already talked about Conclave. That's my top 10. So I'm gonna move on. Number 9 for me, M. Night Shyamalan's Trap,
Yeah.
which is low key fantastic. And I know people knock on this film, but I just think it's fun. And I'm not a big M. Night fan, but I had a lot of fun watching this movie. I like
Mhm.
that it's strange. I like that it's about an idol, which is his daughter. I like that it's about a concert. I love the flow of it. I love the way that he uses his main character as an anti-hero. And I think that's just really interesting.
Mhm.
And I think the key here is that compared to other M. Night films, he put the twist at the start and not the end. And that's why it works.
Mm.
And that's why it's interesting, because now the film doesn't hinge on the twist. The film is the twist. And so
I love that.
he gets to solve the problem of what if I did this rather than
Mhm.
what if everything before was a joke or a lie. You know what I mean? So it feels like he married the gimmick, or whatever you want to call it. There's a phrase for this.
Gimmick with the theme, the conceit with the theme,
He married the twist. Like, he really went he went all in on it, and that's why I think this is worth watching. Your mileage might vary, but I really had a lot of fun with this. Next up, I
Yeah.
talked about this on my SGIF wrap up, which is Loye's unfinished film, which I think is just a good feel good movie that's also about COVID, and I think maybe the best and last COVID film we need. That's all I'm going to say about that. I want to talk a bit more about this Bhutanese film called The Monk and the Gun, which I watched early in the year. And no one's talking about it because no one's watching films from Bhutan, because I think this is one of the only films that came out of Bhutan last year, if not the only one. And it's actually a screwball comedy about monks.
Wow.
Yeah, in the Bhutanese countryside. And like, I did not know that going in, but it has an interesting and very old Hollywood-like screwball nature, but the landscape does not match it at all. And I think it's a very fun and also interesting, like, international film to kind of like get into, because like, how many Bhutanese films am I going to watch in my life? Not many. So I think this is really worth seeking out if you can. And it's really one of the funnier films I've seen this year, because it's really just about how this gun that appears in the countryside like goes into a lot of hijinks because everyone wants this gun. Yeah, and then like there's a lot of characters. It kind of reminds me a little bit of like What's Up Doc, if you guys have seen that.
No.
I've not.
I know the poster. I know what it looks like.
That's Barbara Streisand?
Barbara Streisand, directed by Peter Bogdanovich.
Oh.
Yeah. It is screwball in this vein, but with a little bit of a quieter tone. But I see its screwball bones. So I think it's really well scripted and well paced and well edited. Yeah. So I think this is worth seeking out. Yeah.
Nice.
And then last of my honorable mentions, I watched this recently, which is Mike Leigh's Heart Truths.
Yeah.
And I haven't seen that much of these films, but I was really interested because I was reading about his process, which is that he would create these characters and stories with his actors and actresses and then script the story around that. Heart Truths is about Pansy, played by Marion Jean-Baptiste, in a incredible performance because she is one of the most annoying and hateable characters I've ever seen on screen. And yet you recognize her. She doesn't feel not real. Like, she truly is. You will not like this woman if you met her on the street at all. There's no way. And I think even by the end of the film, she barely redeems herself. And yet, the performance and the way that she is framed in the story allows you to empathize with that character. And I think that's an incredible feat of filmmaking and of acting and of writing, because this is one of the most empathetic films I've seen of a character that feels so difficult to like. And yeah, like, I don't know how he did it, because I felt a lot of pain for her, even though I really disliked her. Yeah, so I think this is worth watching. Yeah. And I really want to get into more of these films. So yeah, those are my honorable mentions.
That's great. I also really loved Trap this year. That was the only other film that the only film that I saw out of your honorable mentions.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Do you want to... Shall I go? I'll go.
Yeah,
Okay.
Go for it.
I'm gonna go. Here are a few honorable mentions from this year. First of all, I want to shout out this film called Not Friends by director Atta Hemwadi. This is my favorite Thai film of the year, including How to Make Millions Before Grandma Dies, which was the big Thai film of the year. But Not Friends is this coming of age story about a group of classmates. Well, once one of their peers passes away, a cocky classmate who says to have been this kid's friend decides to make a film in his honor. And through the process of making a movie with his classmates, he discovers a lot about himself and grows as a person. I have been very impressed by the output of these Thai directors since I discovered Bad Genius a few years ago. So I was keeping my eye open for new Thai releases, and this, I think, was very, very underseen, but I think captures the joy and self-discovery that can come with the process of filmmaking. And it is so funny and also at the same time so melodramatic and really packs that emotional punch. And I guarantee you will leave with tears in your eyes. It is a good movie. Another film I want to shout out is my second favorite Hong Kong film of the year, second to All Shall Be Well. This is Sasha Chuk's directorial debut, Fly Me to the Moon, another coming-of-age story about two sisters moving to Hong Kong in the 1990s from mainland China, dealing with financial hardships and a father dealing with a drug addiction. This is a very tender story told on a very small scale from this director who's able to draw out these very, very difficult performances from these children. I'm very impressed with the way that this local Hong Kong film fund has been supporting these, I guess, low budget features from Hong Kong young directors that have been coming out the last few years. And I was talking to one of our heroes, Professor Lisa Dombrowski, and we were talking about this group of new films that have been coming out of Hong Kong and how this is sort of ushering in a new wave of stories being told from this city. And I think she and her class that are traveling to Hong Kong this week, they had a chance to meet with director Sasha Chuk and ask her questions. Wow. So when I see them tomorrow, I will be asking questions about what they thought about the film and what Sasha said about making this film. But definitely check that out. That is called Fly Me to the Moon. The next film I want to talk about is Shiori Ito's documentary, Black Box Diaries. This is a tough sit, but I'm so glad that this film got Best Documentary Feature nomination at the Oscars this year. In this film, we see Ito battling this case when she was raped by this very high influential man in Japan, and she is a reporter, and we go through a lot of harrowing situations with her as she battles to get her story out and just keep herself safe throughout this whole process, and just coming to realize that a lot of societies in our modern day and age is still very patriarchal and wants to maintain that order as much as they can. And it's very, very scary to watch this, but it's such an important film to watch, especially I think for a lot of people living in East Asian countries, because I think we tend to just push these things under the rug a lot. But I think I'm so glad that this is being brought front and center and being talked about. I think, Ben, you saw this movie as well.
Yeah. This is very high on my list. This is just out of my top 10.
Yeah.
Yeah. I thought the way that she frames, because it's very difficult to do a documentary about yourself doing something, right?
Yeah.
And I think the way, I don't know, did she also edit? I'm not very sure, but the way that they frame this and the kind of things that they focus on is really smart because the book already tells the story, but this is the story about making the book and making also the documentary and also doing the trial. And the things that she's kind of talking about, the struggles that she's going through, it's not just about the trauma, but it's also about the kind of second trauma of putting herself out there and the scrutiny that she gets, and also how she feels that stress of needing to be this figure because she chose to do that, and also the support that she needs to be able to do what she needed to do. That it wasn't she thinks of herself as a hero. If anything, she wishes she wasn't doing it at all. But the people that she needed around her to make this happen, to win the trial and to continue doing what she's doing with the book and with essentially her life, and how the toll of being kind of this so-called brave figure is also putting on her. Yeah. And I think it's done in a way that is very sensitive to herself and also the people around her. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a harrowing watch, but
yeah,
I think it's essential.
I think very important.
That just jumped up in my watch list. What you're saying reminds me of the arc in I May Destroy You, where the main character, whose name escapes me right now, she takes on that mantle of being a very public decrier of, rape and assault
Yeah.
and the pressure that puts on her.
Yeah.
I've not seen that taken up in documentary form that I can think of.
Yeah. Moving on to something of a lighter note, I want to just touch on the 2 Hong Sang-soo features that were released this year. His Isabelle Huppert starer, A Traveler's Needs, is so lovely, and I think Huppert's conversations with the different Korean characters in this film bring about very like hilarious situations and places of miscommunication. And I think I've decided that I think his second feature that he released last year, By the Stream, is the better of the 2, where it shows Kim Min-hee recruiting an old family friend to come to the school that she works at to help put on a play with a group of girls. I think he is really doing such a good job late in his career. The framing, like, I think the cinematography is getting to a point where I think it's like really reaching like god tier status when the images themselves are probably like piss poor and like horrible to look at. I'm like, wow, this man is like really like I think he's just playing 4D chess with like me specifically, and just like and like
he's like,
I'm
Wilson's
the
gonna
joke.
eat this shit up as he's shooting. He's like, these fucking idiots.
I'm gonna make this look so bad and they're gonna love it.
And you know what? He's right. I love it. And I'm still like, every year I put this on my list, and every year I'm like, we're gonna do Hong Sang-soo soon, Hong Sang-soo soon. We will do Hong Sang-soo soon. And it will be glorious. I remind you, it will be glorious. Okay. Last 2. Look Back. Kiyotaka Oshiyama's very short animated feature is my favorite animated film of the year. This story of 2 friends enemies coming together as friends to embark on this creative project reminded me so much of making movies with my friends. And I like love that the care that it gives towards that process of like coming together and working as a creative force, and how like powerful like 2 minds or multiple minds working towards a shared vision can be, and how like as a person you can feel so fulfilled by that. And it's just, I don't want to spoil it because it's so short, and the twists in it are kind of like wild, but yeah. I became like so emotionally devastated watching this on the big screen, and like wept so much. Yeah, just watch it if you haven't. G-Kids released it on the big screen in the US, so boo-hoo if you didn't catch it when it was playing in the big screen. Your fault.
Amazon Prime Singapore right now, you can watch it. FYI, I will talk about this later.
I will too.
Oh, okay. Last one. Sorry, this is the highest ranked film that is not in my top 5 that I haven't talked about yet. It is Pedro Almodovar's The Room Next Door.
Oh.
Which, when thinking about my top films of the year, I was surprised to find this that high on the list. But I think this movie has sat with me for such a long time. And I think Almodovar's ruminations on death and just letting go, and also choosing whether or not to move on, and the selfishness that entails with that is so murky, I would say. And I think he doesn't really clear the water by making this film, but he makes us take a dive in with him, and I think we get a sense of what he fears as well. And I like found it to be really moving. I know a lot of people had issue with the dialogue and the cadence, but I think that if you are familiar with Almodovar's other work, you can sort of get in the groove of it. And I think once you are in the groove of it, the performances that Tilda Swinton and Julianne Moore are giving in this are equally like very, very powerful. But I think there's also like, you can also enter this film in such a different mindset and like walk away laughing and being like, what the fuck did I just watch? But I was really sold and I like bought into this, and I think it really paid off for me personally because I felt very fulfilled watching this movie and coming out of it. That was my
Nice.
honorable mentions.
We should do Almodovar.
What?
We should do Almodovar. We should do a series
Oh,
on
yeah.
Almodovar.
I like The Room Next Door. Like, I think I had the same problem with the dialogue, but I think they acted really well. Like, they really push it over, even though the dialogue's not very good. I will say though, I don't know what Almodovar is doing, but for some reason his digital filmmaking looks really good to me, and I don't know why.
Yeah.
I don't know what he's doing. Like the colors, the grade.
I think it's the production
really
design,
nice.
maybe.
The production design?
I think it's the production.
An Almodovar kitchen. Looks fucking incredible. I'll
It's
eat the
incredible.
kitchen. Yeah. Yeah. Anyway.
He won't eat the food, he will eat the kitchen. Yeah. Okay, Eli, off to you.
Great. I'll segue. Actually, I don't have a clean segue. I didn't love DD, but I loved the experience of watching it, and I love Joan Chen in it.
Oh,
she's always phenomenal. She plays such different types of mothers between this and The Wedding Banquet, which we also have an upcoming episode on.
Yeah, keep your
More
eyes
on that
peeled.
And just to know her trajectory from having seen her years ago in the original Twin Peaks series to now, it feels like she's getting her due and getting her moment in a way that makes me very happy.
Yeah.
She's such a warm actress. Like, such kind presence on screen in a way that feels rare.
Is she in The Return?
No, she's not.
No, she's not.
Yeah.
I wish she had been.
Me too.
Yeah.
1 star. So I'm kidding. I mean, it's a big miss. Just saying.
I agree.
Sorry, Lynch. R.I.P.
Peace.
I still love you.
Last Summer by Kathleen Bayat. I know. Did either of you see this?
No, I've been wanting to watch it, but
Do not touch that with a 10-foot pole.
Yeah. It's a very good look how messed up this situation is type of movie. And I'm not sure what more I got from it than that. It is very compellingly written and directed and acted. And it's very complex and murky. And I kind of don't know what to do with it now. I don't know what more to say. I kind of need... I need to hear your guys' thoughts on this if and when you see it.
Makes me want to watch it.
I'm really curious what you'll think, Ben.
Maybe I will touch it with a 10-foot pole.
Yeah. Just put it on in your neighbor's house and then look through their window.
Yeah. Sounds good.
Or like watch it over someone's shoulder on an airplane. Just kidding. This will never play on an airplane. I hope. Hundreds of beavers. Hundreds of beavers. And there are indeed hundreds of beavers. This is a movie that plays like a video game, that plays like a Looney Tune.
Nice.
It's so lovingly handmade. I am so in this movie's camp. It just crossed $1 million at the box office, which is huge. It's doing a road show around the US where the creators perform stunts in those costumes that they made. It's like, I'm all for this movie. I also earlier in the year watched their previous feature, Lake Michigan Monster, which is hilarious, and like a SpongeBob episode. It's just so charming and fun. I watched it with my dad, who also loves slapstick, and we were just like cracking up. It's a great time.
Nice. I want to catch it.
I have to shout out my two internet comedian darling boys who have two very different things to say about masculinity in 2024. One is Joel Haver, who I've discussed before for his feature in like 2022, 21, Drowning in Potential. That was more of a drama with some comedic elements. But this year, he embarked on a challenge of making a feature a month. A feature a month.
Nice.
I did not watch all of them, because that's a lot. But I did watch the one that he released in November or October called The Diarrhea Brothers Save the Day.
Lovely.
It's a movie about three brothers who are diarrhea salesmen. I'm not entirely sure what more to say about it. It's zany. It's really funny and goofy. And it's just clear that Joel Haver is having fun making movies with his friends.
Mm.
I thought this was really funny. I liked it a lot. And also, you don't actually see any excrement, so it's not
okay.
relying on toilet humor.
Mm.
It's just like kind of clever and dumb and silly.
I have no idea what this movie could be about.
I don't even know how to describe it beyond that.
I don't know what you're saying to me, honestly.
If it clarifies anything, Frankenstein is also in it.
What? What? Okay. What?
Yeah. Other boy of the internet, and the one who I think has the most incisive things to say about what men are right now. Or at least white men in America. Conor O'Malley's Rap World.
Okay.
Which you can, at least for now, watch on YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
It is about a group of fail guys in their 30s in Pennsylvania over the course of one night in 2009 as they're filming themselves making a rap album, or attempting to. Hijinks ensue. I won't say too much because this has handily my favorite edit of the year. A smash cut which I love and which made me drop my jaw and cackle when it happened. You'll know the moment.
I need to catch this.
But it gets at the hedonism / paranoia / laziness / ambition / self-centeredness, but also care for people who are in the in-group that defines so much of what is wounded in American men right now. It is also blisteringly funny, as all Conor O'Malley things are. I think no one's doing it like Conor O'Malley right now, and I want to see him make more features. He just gets something about what's happening right now. Those are all my honorable mentions that I have something positive to say about. Oh, no, sorry. Janet Planet. I also love. Really tender and warm. Great mother-daughter movie, great New England movie. It has this one sleight of hand at the end of the movie that I keep on thinking about. And phenomenal child performance as well. Just super tender and a little bit distanced in a way that keeps me thinking about it.
This is a movie that I wish I saw in a theater because I felt like watching it at home was not good for it.
Yeah, it's definitely a theater movie.
So because it's a bit quiet, so then it was very hard to pay attention at home. Yeah, that was a bit annoying. Yeah, because I was rooting for the movie, but I didn't love it, which was a bit sad. Yeah.
Julianne Nicholson.
Oh, I love her.
I think benefits from the big screen because she's hiding a lot in her face in this movie, and to see the details of what she's doing expressively and what she's turning away from the camera is a crucial device, I think, here.
All right.
Okay.
Is it time? Top 5. We gotta move. Let's move.
The moment we've been waiting for. I love how Ben's trying to keep us on a schedule and we are like...
We're just going. I'm also talking a lot. Yeah.
We're going. It's okay. This is supposed to be long. Okay. Our top 5 of 2024. Ben, would you like to kick us off with your number 5 pick?
My number 5 pick is Ghostlight, directed by Alex Thompson and Kelly O'Sullivan. Yeah. And I think this is just one of those picks that's like I'm into because I love movies about actors, and this is a movie about actors played by an actor family. The central couple plus their daughter, their actual family, playing a family within this film, where essentially what's happening is that the father, who's this kind of like repressed person, like he starts hanging out at a theater group, like an amateur theater group, and then starts learning to act, and then ends up acting in this Romeo and Juliet play and his daughter like finds out about it, and it's really just a simple family drama about how he learns to kind of deal with his emotions because their entire family is dealing with a huge family trauma. And they don't know how to communicate about it, and the daughter, who's played wonderfully by Catherine Malin Kupfer, who plays Keith Kupfer's and Tara Malin's daughter. So it's just this whole family. And I think the tone of this is just great. Like, it's almost like gonna be too sentimental, almost gonna be too twee, but it just manages to stay the line and keep you within its world and keep you emotionally with the characters. And I personally just love films about acting where it's like the acting is like one layer and then the actual thing I'm dealing with is a different layer. So I really like that. So I think this is one of those picks where it's just like, this one really sits in my zone. Yeah, and there's a bit of like too neatness, like how Romeo and Juliet fits in with the story that's happening in the so-called real world. But I don't really fucking mind it because I just really love this, and I thought the acting was really great across the board. And this couple, Keith Kupfer and Tara Malin, they're, I think, longtime actors who've just done a lot of, I think, on film, a lot of more character actor roles. They're not big stars or anything. So I think it's really nice that they have this kind of big showcase that they're really anchoring it with their daughter, who's also a great actress. Yeah, and she was actually in Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret. And she was really great in that. Yeah, so she was one of the girls in that. Yeah, I really recommend this. It might not be for everyone, but it was for me. So yeah.
You know what I think of when I hear the word Ghostlight?
What?
The 2006 Pixar animated short Mater and the Ghostlight, directed by the not at all cancelled John Lasseter.
Oh my gosh.
In which Mater hears the fable of the Ghostlight, and then it starts to chase him. It turns out that someone had just hung a lantern on his tow truck tail, and he was running away from his own tow truck tail. Can you believe it?
No.
You know what? I couldn't even believe it from the first sentence that you said.
You know what? That's my number 1 of the year of 2024.
Ghostlight, that.
Call it. Mater and the Ghostlight from 2006.
You're killing me.
Directed by the not at all cancelled John Lasseter.
I don't like this. I don't like that we're hanging this Ghostlight on Ghostlight.
Oh.
Just like the Ghostlight was hung on Mater's tow truck tail.
Yeah.
Oh,
Please
wow.
watch 2024's Ghostlight, directed by Alex Thompson and Kelly O'Sullivan.
Please watch 2000s.
Moving on to Wilson's top number 5 movie. I will not let this happen.
This is an atrocious bit.
It's gross, it's crazy, it's zany, it's ridiculous. You heard Ben shit on it for 5 minutes earlier this episode. It is Coralie Fargeat's The Substance.
I didn't do what it did to itself.
Ben, you could say that it bores you, but I think this was the most fun I've had in a theater in like the last 5 years. I was hooting, I was hollering, I was clapping, and not only me, everyone else in this theater was up and cheering and shouting. It was a crazy experience, especially if you know I live in Hong Kong, where movie audiences are, I guess, relatively more reserved. I've never been in a screening like this at all. I think The Substance really captures this B movie essence and love that I have of taking some really simple premises and just taking it way past the point of like comfortableness for you, and just making like stretching that idea to a point where you don't even know like what you were even looking at in the first place. I think the way that this movie sort of ups the ante, like as we continue through its runtime, was shocking to me. I didn't realize that we could get this far into this craziness that we see with Elizabeth Sparkle and Sue, and I guess later on Monstro Eliza Sue. I think the performance that Demi Moore has in this film carries enough power to work on her own, or when she's like playing opposite her younger double. I think there's enough like tension or anger or emotion in those moments that makes it work for me. And I think there's still a lot of, like, I know, Ben, you were talking about there's a lack of tension with her interacting with other people, but I think there's also another like creepier kind of tension that you get when you're like locked in a house by yourself and you don't know what she's gonna do to herself, which is kind of like the scary aspect about the substance, is that she is like doing this, she's making this choice herself to like keep going to go through this again and again and again. But I think through that, she also loses any sense of self that she has, which makes it like so wild for me. But like, I don't even like intellectualize about this film like that much at all. Like, I think it is just this visceral feeling that I get from this that I haven't gotten. It's just like chasing a high that you like I haven't seen like gotten since like I watched like Possession on the big screen. Like, it is like, it just brought me so much life and sort of like reaffirmed my joy in like the act of going to the movies. So whether it's for you or whether it's not for you, like, I think you should just still give it a shot and see if it rocks your boat or drowns you. I don't know. I think it's worth it.
That's a great pitch. I mean, I love horror, obviously, and I've not caught this one yet.
I have no comment because I already said them all. I'm not convinced, but yeah.
It's okay, Ben. I wasn't trying to.
I know. What's your number 5, Eli?
Conclave!
Yeah.
Conclave! Conclave.
Yeah.
Conclave. Conclave. Have you seen Conclave? Conclave. I love Conclave. I've got Conclave fever. Great movie. What is there to say that hasn't been said already? Obviously, performances are great. I'm so glad we have wrinkly, un-airbrushed faces on screen, acting like middle schoolers, gossiping with each other. Isabella Rossellini, so good, does so much with so little. Ray Fiennes, always my hero. I love that man. What a goofball, except for his takes on J.K. Rowling. That aside, he's great. But, you know, that's a significant flaw. I love the narrative that Peter Strawn, who adapted Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy for the big screen with his late wife, Bridget O'Connor, they won the Oscar together, I believe she posthumously. And now he wins again for adapting a similarly pulpy, twisty, thorny novel in Conclave. But my favorite thing about this movie, and the thing that I think people knock it for, is its final twist. Because of its thematic not tying. At the start of the movie, Ralph Fiennes' Cardinal Lawrence is undergoing a crisis of faith, and yet he preaches to the gathered members of the Conclave that difference and living in a community of diversity is the thing that makes a group effective and powerful and good, virtuous. The final twist of the movie challenges his words on that topic and asks him to live by them in a way that I find so thematically satisfying and compelling. And I love that the movie ends on this calm note of, it seems like him accepting that challenge and reaffirming his faith through that challenge to live by his words and his values. I think it's the most politically optimistic movie we could have right now, and the movie I think we need right now, at least in American politics. And as Wilson said, that it doesn't disavow ideas of religion or Catholicism or faith is crucial. I really like the way this movie is written and the way this movie moves with its themes. It's also impeccably crafted at pretty much every level. I'm totally in the pocket for this. As Wilson says about the substance, it was a fun time at the movies, and it is full of something to say. I might be talking myself into bumping this up to number 4, but what are numbers anyway?
Yeah. I would say that like it's incredible that it's also a fun movie on top of all the other things you said.
Yeah.
Right? That's like pretty incredible. Like, how do you do that much in 2 hours? That's a feat.
Cardinals vape. Conclave. Back to you, Ben.
I guess I am a different man from Eli, so my next film is a different man.
So my next film is
directed by Aaron Schimberg and starring Sebastian Stan, who plays this man with a kind of, I don't know how to explain it, but he basically has a deformity on his face that he corrects and becomes looking like Sebastian Stan. But the big thing is that he wants to be an actor. And I think this is a movie that does thematically what The Substance wanted to say, with much more nuance and much more prickliness that I find very interesting. I think the tone of it is very good, and it's like kind of offbeat funny. It's not ha-ha funny, but it's just a little bit off. And it ends oddly. I don't maybe love the ending, but maybe that's why it's a good ending. And I think it is so interesting in the way that it talks about image and self in how you see yourself in terms of physical appearance, but also other things. And it doesn't want to tie it up in a neat bow. And I think the way that it kind of jumps around and like keeps changing on itself about where your empathy lies is really interesting. Yeah, I found it very fascinating. I felt very well thought out thematically and then presented to you, but also not neat, which I think is quite tough to do. It feels like a movie from the 70s is the thing, you know, which is what I like about it, that it doesn't feel too well constructed. It doesn't feel too fully thought out in a good way. Like, it is kind of almost experimenting as it is being written, I would say. So there's something kind of fun and exciting about that. I mean, I had not heard about Aaron Schimberg before, so I'm quite excited to see his future work as well. Yeah, so I think this is really, to me, very interesting. Yeah. I can't really say too much. Like, I'm kind of blanking on a lot of it, but I just remember being fascinated by it and by how it just couldn't be pinned down. But also can if you really wanted to, I think. I think there's enough meat on the bones for you to really dig in deep on this. Yeah.
I hear that Adam Pearson is so compelling in this.
Oh, he's charming as hell. He's so good in this. Yeah, he's fantastic.
I love the idea that he can be a full version of himself in the way that the Sebastian Stan character fails to do while ostensibly achieving the look that he wants.
Yeah. I recommend it, Wilson.
I am a lover of cinema, and therefore...
Oh, are you?
I think there always has to be a big blockbuster hit on my top 5. Yeah, it is.
Oh.
And it has to be this year. It has to be hands down Denis Villeneuve's follow-up, Dune Part 2. I think I had a lot of issues with Dune Part 1. I think I didn't really understand what I was getting into. A lot of things felt half-baked. I was impressed by the scale of everything, but not really, like, buying things emotionally. But I think in this film, Villeneuve takes this character of Paul Atreides by the horns and, like, yanks him into gear and, like, has him make decisions that shook me. But this is also, I'm a person that did not read the original Dune, so I did not know that he was gonna come, like, Messiah of Death or whatever. Like, I didn't realize that that was happening, but when that happens, there's sort of a shift in your understanding of the character, and I think there's a shift in your understanding of what this story is actually about. And I think when that clicked for me, I think my mind exploded. Like, I felt like I was, like, being Trojan horsed this, like, classic good versus evil, like, sci-fi story that, like, gets blown up the moment he's, like, makes this shift in this movie. And I think Chalamet handles this with ease. I think there is no question that he is the deserved star of his generation because he's able to, like, maintain this Paul Atreides character and still have you understand what he is doing while committing these, like, unspeakable acts and making these choices to take power. And I think there's so many interesting conversations you can have about power and conformity and, like, just society as a whole when thinking about something like Dune. But on top of that, this is being presented in such a cool, stylized, like, heart-thumping action epic that you get by Villeneuve. And I think him balancing these big action set pieces with also this very human story that you have of Paul Atreides and also Chani, who I think Zendaya really steps up in this film into this role, is really, really, really something to marvel at. I think we should all be really grateful that we have a director like Villeneuve being given these blank check projects. It is sort of like when Nolan was in the middle of his Dark Knight trilogy in the 2000s or the 2010s, and I think we don't really realize how lucky we are until after it finishes. But I think right now I'm like, oh, we gotta be grateful right now because he's being able to do this now, and we should be catching it in the biggest screen that we can. But yeah, Dune Part 2, undeniable epic.
Undeniable? Ben, would you like to take that tee up?
Deny.
I'm about to deny, but I will say that I'm going to shoot myself in the foot and say that I think the biggest thing I have against this is I think this needed to be 2 movies, which is the thing I just said we should have less of. Because I really thought that this was a little overstuffed, and I think I needed more space with it. The pacing felt like way too quick for me. And I really like Dune 1 to a certain extent because, yes, it kind of ends before it starts, but it gave me a lot of anticipation for the second one. But then the second one just, like, blitzes through, like, so much plot so quickly in a way that, like, I felt it wasn't dramatic, or, like, it didn't feel like I was being told a story. It felt like I was reading Wikipedia was what I felt as I was watching it. Yeah, and I can't really tell you why. I mean, I think I watched this in IMAX, but, like, I wasn't the action wasn't blowing me away for some reason. Wow. Yeah. But I kind of want to rewatch this now. I just don't know why it didn't hit for me. And so I don't know what's up. I think the pace of it felt like I couldn't really follow it as a epic. And there was a bit of a shortening of the plot to get it to be under 3 hours and all under 3 movies. Yeah, because that's a very dense piece of literature to try and condense into 1 or even 2 movies, I would say.
Well, surprise, surprise, I land in the middle of you both on a big blockbuster epic. A thing that has never happened before.
Oh, definitely not.
I agree with you, Ben, that it emotionally, I don't get the things that Wilson is describing from it, especially on the character side. I think Chalamet improves on the first in that his solo scenes work. His chemistry with other characters, I'm still missing. However, I do think he's undeniably the star of the moment. Like, I didn't see the Bob Dylan movie, but it sounds like he actually does quite well in it. Intellectually, though, I do vibe with Dune Part 2. And Wilson, you talking about it as a text on power and the compromises and costs of becoming a powerful figure and maneuvering to get to power also kind of cohere the theme of the year in movies to me, which is pathways to power. Whether it's Conclave's take on coalition, Dune 2's big figure or important man pathway to power kind of idea of the 20th century, or the Brutalist's ideas about art making as a kind of power that requires shaking hands with ugly kinds of power, or some of the other things that we're going to talk about, I think, later on in our lists. Whereas last year's Eat the Rich stuff was pat and simple, this year there really is more complexity within our movies' discussions of what it takes to get to and retain power. I'm very curious what Dune Messiah is going to do with an arc that has effectively distanced us from Paul Atreides. Like, after he goes on his worm juice bender, he's a different character, and we are not close to him at all, even in the camera positioning. And I find that such a compelling choice. I'm very interested to see what part 3 is going to do. Yeah, I like Dune.
Okay, Eli, you're number 4.
We're only on number 4.
Oh, God. I am number 4. A reference that 3 people are going to say, Look Back. Which, I know. I won't say too much about it now, because I think we're going to have a fuller conversation later. But I really found it very stirring and beautiful. I watched it with my mom, which is a really nice experience. And to see how this friendship moves and moves the form of the movie. I see some movies as a kind of shape, and this is a figure 8 to me.
Oh, yeah.
In a way that I can't fully explain.
Yeah.
Dude.
But I think Ben will maybe pick up that
I'll explain.
ball later on.
Yeah.
I won't. I'm going to drop this ball so hard.
Yeah.
No, he won't.
All right.
Okay.
3.
All right. My number 3, which I think we're all going to talk about right now, is the director we've already covered on the podcast.
Oh!
It's Luca Guadagnino's Challengers, which I think is the most fun in the cinema this year.
Same.
Last year. I don't know. I think that's just what it is. Yeah. I don't have much else to say about it. I think even my quibbles with it, like, are irrelevant. I think this is one of Guadagnino's best efforts. He's just fucking going for it. He's trying everything. He's throwing the whole kitchen sink at the wall.
Yeah.
Yes.
I don't know what this man is smoking, but he is just going absolutely ham. His work with his DP, remind me his name.
Sayombu Mukti Prom.
Yeah, fucking legendary shit. Because all their work together has like looked very different, and if anything, Challenges is them just trying some shit. And I was watching this video about the CG for the POV of the tennis ball shot. I was like, yeah, this is a one way to use CG, and I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah, like let's try some shit, and like you would not even think to try this shit for this movie. Why would you do that? But it works, because at the end of the day, it's a film about romance, but also about tennis and about friendship, and I really like that.
And power.
Yeah, that's my number 3.
More on that later.
More on that later. My number 3 It's so funny that you were talking about power, and I was like thinking about how it applies to my third pick, but I don't think it really. I think my third film is sort of a result of getting caught by power and moved along through this power, which is the new Chinese decade, and the film being Jia Zhangke's Caught by the Tides, which tells this expansive story about two people coming in and out of each other's lives as the boom of China's 90s and 2000s and 2010s roll on by. I have not seen the two prior films that Jia Zhangke is referencing and taking unused footage from to make Caught by the Tides, but I think that didn't stop me from understanding this sort of crushing feeling to be moving backwards and forwards through time. And I think Caught by the Tides is such a beautiful title to explain this feeling of just feeling powerless against the movement of the world around you. And these characters get displaced by new constructions in their cities. They get displaced by new technologies. They get displaced by COVID. And so much of this movie is communicated without dialogue. But I think without dialogue, you are truly able to like get something without translation. And I think this feeling here of longing, of like really yearning for something or someone far away that you have no clue of, and just being able to just exist for that for a little bit is so powerful. But also I think it's so hard to explain because you just have to like be in it in those moments with Zhao Tao and Jia Zhangke's other actor in this. Because I think there's a really magical quality to this film. It's truly a meditation because it's hard. I think it's really, really hard for me to put into words because it's such a visceral experience. But it's not really even visceral because it's not like hitting you in the moment, but you're just existing with them. And I think it's so poetic, and it's truly a magic trick because I still can't really wrap my head around what exactly Jia is doing here or trying to do here, but I think it is filling me with such immense like longing, or just I'm feeling the weight of a lot of time and a lot of movement and a lot of like a country, like progress, I think he really, really gets that. And I think not a lot of directors are able to just capture that, especially from China, because I feel like China is probably the most important place in the world where this filmmaking needs to be conveying or needs to be showing. And this is like a big dramatic concern of people's lives over the last like 20-30 years. So I'm just really, really glad that Jia made this and is able to make movies like this. Yeah, Caught by the Tides. It played at New York Film Festival, played in Hong Kong. I think it's coming to Singapore soon. Catch it. It's magical. Watch on the big screen.
Wilson, the move through decades of Chinese history that you're describing makes me think of Zhang Yimou's To Live. But it sounds like formally very different from that movie.
Yeah, I think formally very different, and also focusing on a very different period.
A different time, yeah.
Right.
A later time, right? A later time from To Live.
And I think there are different concerns in this new era.
Yeah.
But those like connections to your hometown or your home people or your first loves are still strong.
So as a filmmaker, I'm really curious about, and I've not seen too many of his films. Yeah, I want to dig in deeper. I sure hope someone will do a big retrospective on it, if possible.
Wink, wink.
No, don't say that. Sorry. Moving on.
My 3 and 2 and 1 honestly are all kind of toss-ups. So this is at this particular moment ranking. 3 is Pascal Plante's Red Rooms.
Ooh.
French-Canadian thriller and really yucky movie about an inscrutable young woman who is a model who becomes obsessed with, for inexplicable reasons, and starts to attend the trial of a serial murderer of teenage girls that he has live streamed and sold online on the dark web.
Oh, wow.
It's disgusting. It's revolting. There's next to no gore in it, but it really got under my skin and bothered me. And it's extremely upsetting. And this is something where it has this magnetic quality where you become obsessed in a way too. I don't know with what. With finding out what's driving the main character, with understanding the different relationships that other characters have in this movie to the central trial, with understanding the killer himself, with figuring out what exactly happened with the third of the 3 murders, which there's no video footage of. That becomes a key plot point. And it also just becomes a mirror. What is our relationship to crime right now? To heinous, evil, very public, very mediatized crime right now, with misogynist crime. And at the same time, also kind of iconic, as much as I hate to say it.
Yes.
So super creepy watch that I just keep on thinking about. I really am curious what you guys would think about this movie. If Plante has a couple more in the bag, I absolutely want to do a series on him because there's something unique to it that I can't.
Is it the kind of thing where like its ickiness is something it knows of and it wants you to also deal with it? Like
yes,
that you
absolutely.
like its ickiness that it's also presenting to you? Okay.
Absolutely. It knows precisely what it's doing at every moment.
Wow. I mean, it's like the big thing with like Netflix and like they do so much true crime, right?
Yeah.
And then there's enough true crime that we can have a show like Only Murders in the Building that makes fun of people being interested in true crime and turns it into a comedy. And then like, it is very interesting because a lot of media is founded on people's interest in extremely lurid accounts of real true crime. That's what the news is, right?
But whereas something like Only Murders or American Vandal are making parody of true crime itself, this is very much so about someone's obsession with true crime, with how we digest true crime.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Totally here for it.
I think
it makes me think about. Remember when Serial came out? Do you guys remember that?
Yeah,
Yes.
I was obsessed.
Yeah, I was obsessed with that first season.
Yeah,
and then
Cheerios,
now, like,
man. I love Cheerios.
That was crazy.
Wow, wild. Okay, are we into our top 2 now?
Oh yeah, we are already in our top 2.
Oh man,
Already 2.5 hours into our recording.
I'll go, I guess, since I started. My second top film, one of my top films of the year is, and I've already talked about it, which is No Other Land, which won that Oscar. Yeah, and it felt like, where else could I put this, you know what I mean? Except somewhere in the top something. Yeah, although it's a little, I think with these films, with a film like No Other Land, it feels a little bit vulgar to put it in a ranking. It's not really about ranking at all. It's not even about whether it's good, but it's also very good. It's very well edited in the way it wants to tell its documentary story about what's happening to Basil's family. But yeah, I've talked about this at length on my Ash Wrap Up. Yeah, but I think Wilson will have some thoughts about this movie.
Yes, I do have some thoughts about my movie. Thank you for leading me to
saving for this episode.
Oh, yeah. Well, I don't know. But thank you for leading me to my number 2, which is also No Other Land, directed by Basil Adra, Yuval Abraham, Rachel Zor, and Hamdan Balal. I was really lucky to have caught this on the big screen I rewatched this on the big screen the day that this group won the Oscar for Best Documentary Feature. And I think rewatching it, I think there's really such an undeniable quality to what you're seeing on screen. Like, I think this year or these past few years have really brought to the forefront the struggle of Palestinian people to a global audience. And I think it's exposing a lot of things that are happening in the West, especially in America, even with this week with what's going on with the activist Mahmoud Khalil, who's been arrested on really unlawful grounds, and this new administration sort of like picking up where the past administration left off with how it's treating protesters in support of Palestine. But I think an extension of that, we see how the IDF forces are treating Basel and all the other inhabitants of this village, Masafar Yatta, in Palestine. And I think the way that we see this struggle on screen, how these images of these buildings continually getting crushed by bulldozers and these pleas for help or pleas for mercy by these Palestinian villagers, just not even ignored, but just being like violently pushed back against, is so like shocking to watch. And I found myself at a loss for words just like experiencing it. And I think if you are just unsure about this issue at all, I think watching this will just give you a lot of clarity into who has the obvious upper hand in this, like, very imbalanced oppressor and oppressed situation that's going on over there. And I think this is even seen by how they show the two protagonists of this film, Basil and his friend and reporter Yuval, who's Israeli, who comes in and tries to help bring a voice to these activists in Masafar Yatta. And I think you see the power of them working together, which is very energizing and hopeful, but also there's a disconnect there. Like, every night Yuval can leave and goes home to his safe home place. He has rights that Basil does not have. And I think whenever that is seen, and it shows that multiple times in this film, it really, like, it breaks your heart a little more. And I think, like, even, like, I think watching this film is just sort of a jumping off point. Like, I don't think your knowledge, like, acquisition or your activism should end here. I think, like, this is just the beginning. Like, even if Basil and Yuval and their team celebrated their Oscar win just a few weeks ago, Basil and his family still have to return to Masafar Yatta and still have to continue to day in and day out defend their right to live on that land that their family has been living on for generations. And this is, like, what so many, like, all these Palestinian people just want, is just this freedom to live in their land. And I think the fact that this is like made so clear in this documentary is very incredible, and I'm glad that they got like that global recognition by the Academy. And it's like one of the things that I'm like very, very grateful for that the Academy like did this past like Oscars. Okay, yeah, I hope that wasn't too like
No, that was very, very well said.
Okay,
Yeah,
thank
absolutely.
you.
Yeah, like
Can I add a little more?
Yeah,
Yes.
of course.
If it's not too exhausting, sorry. I totally agree. And it would have been an outrageous shame had they not awarded No Other Land Best Documentary Feature of the Year. The fact that it still does not have US distribution is something that I hope changes. I agree with you, Wilson, that it's a good jumping off point. Some of the positioning in the documentary is very purposefully, and I think smartly, designed for an international audience that is less familiar with the history of the conflict and the basics of the conflict. As that kind of document, it very compellingly and upsettingly shows the human rights abuses that happen. The thing that I keep on thinking about is the filling of a well with cement towards the end of the movie.
That's the one for me too.
How do you justify that? And to the destruction of an elementary school in the middle of the school day in front of children. No child should have to live without a home, go without a school, see their home destroyed. It's awful, needless to say. And even more than the right to live and have a safe, secure home life, equal representation under the law. There's something that Yuval Abraham said in his acceptance speech at the Oscars. He said, quote, "When I look at Basel, I see my brother, but we are unequal. We live in a regime where I am free under civilian law, and Basel is under military laws that destroy his life and he cannot control," end quote. I'm very skeptical of how the political concern of how the events in Israel and Palestine since October 7th, 2023 especially, have been used for political, professional, and personal gain at several different spheres in America. And I'll admit that I even have a very complicated relationship with it as an American Jew. It's complicated. And it is also something we all must say, that every human life is valuable.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone deserves a stable, safe home life and a place to call home. And the reason that this movie is important now, and I think if you are considering watching this movie and or are less familiar with what's happening in Israel and Palestine, there's several urgent things happening right now. A couple of weeks ago, Amnesty International said that Masafer Yatta, the region in which No Other Land is filmed, is at risk of forcible expulsion. 2, even though there are some similarities between the Biden and Trump administrations in terms of their relationship to Israel, behind closed doors, where Biden was asking for some restraint, Trump is very openly discouraging restraint and is, as we all know, talking publicly about what the academic Peter Beinart is calling an ethnic cleansing of the region of Palestine to move Palestinians off of that land. We've seen the AI video that Trump posted, which is unspeakable. As Yuval says at the end of the movie, people watch something, they're touched, and then sort of asking what is next. My small recommendations for especially us as Americans, if you're listening in America, there are donations that you can provide to UNICEF or individually to individual Palestinian families who need medical attention on GoFundMe and other sites. And also, it's an opportunity to provide political pressure. I think that, look, there's too much to say about American politics right now. it's a bad moment. Kind of no matter which side you're on.
Mm-hmm.
But that's perhaps more of an invitation to take up the causes that you care about and stand up for human rights at home and abroad. Okay, sorry, that's my too long
No,
2
that's
cents
fine.
on it.
No. Thank you all for listening to us. Okay, Eli, what is that your number 2 or
Was that your number 2?
No,
It's not.
Number 2?
My number 2 is Jesse Eisenberg's A Real Pain.
Oh.
Ooh.
Yeah. Kind of snuck up on me, especially at a time when I'm thinking about American Jewish lineage and what that means from the standpoint of responsibility for ourselves, for our families, for other people, what it means to be a member of a global community of Jewish people, and also negotiating some tropes like guilt or family ties. This is a movie that sits with those things and gave me a space to think and feel about those questions while also feeling touched and entertained and kind of like I was walking through a Romer movie.
Yes.
But more Jewish.
Less romantic.
I think a big knock against this that people have been saying is that Jesse Eisenberg is doing his thing, Kieran Culkin is doing his thing, whatever. I disagree. I think they're both doing, even if they are partially in their comfort zones, they're both pushing it and doing some fresh stuff. And Kieran Culkin finally gets to wear his bracelets on screen, so go with that.
Yeah.
I really loved it. I think it's one of the ones that I'm going to be sitting with for a long time and revisiting in the future.
I enjoyed this a lot, actually. I thought it was very well written, and I'm quite impressed that Eisenberg is moving in this direction in the way that he's writing his story, because this is very French to me. Like, it's just like a bunch of people talking, you know, like it's just talking. But I think the characterization is so well done. And yes, they are kind of playing their archetypes, but I think the nuance of what is happening with the relationships between the cousins as well as with the people that are on this heritage tour with them is very, very sharp. And the underlying subtext of what's happening is always felt or always understandable. And you can feel that there are other things going on. And yeah, and even if I might not maybe fully understand this experience that they're having, I think just being able to understand the kind of interpersonal friction between the cousins is really fun to watch, and also really fully subtextual. It's not really something that's articulated and not said out loud, and that is very hard to do from a writing standpoint, from an acting standpoint, and from a directing standpoint. That's very difficult to do. This is one of those, like, how do you do something like really subtle but not too subtle, but also, you know what I mean?
And he didn't over-explain it.
Exactly. And I think that's extremely difficult to do. And I didn't know Eisenberg had this in him. So yeah, interesting.
Agreed.
I need to catch this one.
I'm writing about this a little bit on my Substack because I watched it in Japan. Very little bit. But the filmmaker that reminded me of was Mia Hansen-Løve, actually.
Ooh.
I totally see it.
Okay.
Yeah. So I think that really shoots up your watch list for you, Wilson. Like,
just like I know how to push Eli's buttons, Ben knows how to push mine.
Yeah. All right. Let's talk about number 1 pick, which is very obvious if you look back on the rest of the episode.
Hey! Well done.
Because my number 1 movie of 2024 isn't even a feature film if you think about it, because feature films, fun fact, are technically more than 60 minutes long. Because this movie, if you could even call it, is like 58 minutes long.
Yeah.
Yeah, so my number 1 pick is Look Back. I forgot the director's name, but I don't care. I just want to talk about this movie, which sits completely in my zone. Kiyotaka Oshiyama. Domo. If you know me, this sits so much in my zone because this is a film about best friends. And I think the amount that is packed into this 1 hour, the emotional gut punch of this is staggering. And yet, despite some of its sensationalisms, despite some of its melodrama, it's just so good at articulating this kind of friendship through art, the competitiveness, and the way that you love each other but also want to be better than each other. Like, that's the stuff of best friend cinema that I really, really like. And it's not just about kumbaya, I love you kind of thing, but it's really like I love you, but also like we're in this thing that we both love together, but I also want to be the best. And I love jealousy among friends. I find that to be just so dramatically interesting. And like, after I saw it, I was like, this is my favorite film, and I already knew it, and it was like early in the year. I was like, I'm not gonna change this, I already knew. And yeah, and also the animation of this is really, really fantastic. And Eli called it a figure 8 of a film. This film bends the space-time continuum. That's what it's doing.
Yeah.
Like, it does something in the middle here that I can't even fully recall the details, but I remember being like, whoa, what is going on here? Like, the fact that it's able to do it within its extremely limited runtime is actually incredible. And let it work and tell a very long arc. This is a film that actually covers years. And I do not know how it's doing this in 60 minutes. I was like, wait, that was 60 minutes? After it ended, I was confused. I was like, how did it compress that much time, that much story, and express this relationship in such clear terms with such economy is like mind-boggling. You know, mind-boggling they can do this with 60 minutes when some other films have 4 hours and can't do shit. So like, that's the kind of like filmmaking I really love, like with that kind of economy. So yeah, so that's Look Back. Amazon Prime, watch it.
I think my favorite thing about Look Back, and the thing that feels unique, aside from the specificities, the wonderful specificities of this friendship, and the thing that is a payoff of its structural gambit, where something flips in the middle, is that it gives time for imagination to be an act of grief and an act of love in a way that I've not seen in another movie.
And we're not even getting into the animation style. Like, I think there's this scene where one of the characters runs through the rain, which I thought was one of the most beautiful scenes.
Was this the POV?
It's sort of like a tracking. It's a tracking back shot.
Yeah.
So fantastic.
There's a bunch of POV animation in this, which is like extremely difficult to animate, and I really like that. Yeah, and man, I need to watch this movie again on Amazon Prime. We should get paid.
We should stop plugging Amazon Prime.
Yeah, please.
Down with Jeff Bezos.
Bezos, pay me money.
Please go. Watch Union. Yes, great documentary about a union getting formed at an Amazon warehouse in New York. Very good documentary.
And another documentary that's having trouble getting distribution as well.
Very clear why.
Yeah.
All right. I want to hear some number ones.
Well, okay. Wilson and I have the same number one, so why don't we say it in unison?
Well...
Oh.
Wait, do you have a twist?
What's the twist?
I don't have a twist. I sort of lied.
Oh.
So I can talk about 2 movies right now.
Oh.
Bro. This guy cheated.
I know what he did.
2 movies basically made by the same team. So basically consider it one movie. And this is Luca Guadagnino's Crazy Year with Challengers and Queer. Maybe, how do we want to... Okay. We could talk about Challengers first. Okay, we could talk about Challengers first. Or I'll talk about Queer first, and then we could talk about Challengers.
Sure.
Okay. Oh, I think it's so hard to like talk about one film without like thinking about the other, though. And I think this is like they're so wildly different films.
Yeah.
But I think the fact that Guadagnino and his whole team worked on both of these back to back shows me the capacity of the range that they can accomplish as a team. And Challengers, on one hand, as this pitch perfect, like, studio romance tennis drama about these three characters who push and pull in on each other through decades on the tennis circuit, with Queer, which is this very, very weird movie about unrequited love and longing and loss, is like something sort of like short of fantastic. I think like the ability for Guadagnino to make two masterpieces of this scale in 1 year, I don't think I've like I don't think I've been alive to witness like that ever in the world. Like I think he is operating at such a high level right now, and no one is stopping him. He is churning out these movies like nobody's business. And I think in the ways that Challengers seeks to please an audience and seeks to deliver something that is heart-thumping and like sends energy through your veins, Queer comes at you a sort of like cowardly. I think it sort of like approaches you, like tiptoes towards you, and I think if you enter it with open arms, you can really get enveloped by this immense like feeling that Daniel Craig's character is having in this film. And when you slip into it, it's like a drug. It takes over you. And I don't think I could not stop thinking about Queer for like weeks after watching it. The imagery, the way that Luca uses miniatures in this is like astounding. It's like sort of like the CGI use in Challengers. You didn't realize that could be a choice, but when you see it as a choice, you're like, oh my gosh, I like understand why. And the way that he puts swooning romance or just love for someone else onto screen, it's fantastic. And I think I saw Queer the week that Lynch passed away, and I kept on just thinking about David Lynch when watching it, and like sort of trying to explain human emotion through unnatural like visuals. Like I think but through that you get a better understanding of how these people are feeling. And yeah, it's kind of fantastic. I'm in love. Like I think Luca Guadagnino might be my favorite working filmmaker right now. I think I can say
wow.
it. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, with this year. Yeah. Thanks, Luca.
I want to watch this so bad. Crossing my fingers.
I think there's a lot about Queer that's very moving. I don't know that I feel it hang together in the same way or cohere. The things that I do love about this movie are its depiction of intimacy. It's classic Guadagnino, tactile, sensual, while still being an expression of character. And yeah, I love that Lynch comp, Wilson. It does feel like a similar level of surreal as a mode of translating an emotion that can't be translated to words. Drew Starkey and Jason Schwartzman are great in it. I do feel that Daniel Craig doesn't quite land for me. I know, I'm sorry.
No, don't apologize.
I think the most charitable thing I can say is that as the character he's playing is uncomfortable and kind of fronting about his confidence. I feel Daniel Craig stumbling in a similar way that you could argue is maybe on purpose, but it doesn't quite click for me. At the same time, I'm very glad that this team made this movie and really tried a lot. And there's plenty of stuff that's worth seeing here. Yeah. I also fully acknowledge that it maybe is just not my cup of tea, and that does not make it any less of a movie.
Well, on to your number one, Eli.
Yeah, Challengers! This is my greatest movie theater experience of the past year. It's a total blast. I know we're going to talk about it more in another episode, but it's just
another episode.
I jumped up and cheered.
We already did that.
Wait, did we already record it?
Yeah. Wait,
Challengers, Eli?
we fully did an episode, dude.
Yeah, I know. I remember now. You can go hear me talk more coherently about it over there. But I also love that it is about power in an extremely intimate sphere of a relationship that lasts for decades. And it's messy about it. It's really messy about it. But it ends with a great hug.
Yeah. What a picture, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think there every year there's a picture that makes all three of our lists. Well, and this year there's, I guess, kind of two. Look Back was so close to my list, but Challengers made all of our top 5.
Yeah.
Or top 3s, even.
No Other Land, I would say, is an essential document of the year. I had trouble slotting it into a ranking.
Yeah,
as well,
ranking feels weird, right?
It does.
Yeah,
it does.
Yeah. I will say though, I'm really glad that Luca is just fucking making movies. He's just He's got a movie coming out this year.
He does.
True. After The Hunt.
Ayo Adibri and who?
Julia Roberts.
Oh yeah.
Andrew Garfield, Michael Stuhlbarg, Chloe Sevigny.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
What?
Oh my god. But DP changed really kind of. He's got this DP, Malik Hassan Saeed, who shot a film for Spike Lee Clockers.
Oh wow.
Which I've not seen, a bit underseen, but he also shot Lemonade.
Oh wow.
But also written by Krasinski's, right?
No.
Is it?
I think it's different. I think
he's changing it up.
Changing teams a little bit.
Yeah.
It's very interesting.
Whoa. Writer's first feature.
Wow.
Only credit on Letterboxd.
Because I think
amazing.
this might be a black, what is it called? Like a script in the blacklist. It might be a blacklist script, I think.
Yeah. Man's finding work, man. He's just pulling them out of the air.
God, I wish that the funding for the arts that Europe has, we could have everywhere.
It really depends. Yeah, it depends. It depends on how the structures work, you know?
Yeah, true.
It really depends. You need money to make stuff. Yeah. I will say that, I think, even though Hollywood is so profit-driven, that at least it's able to sustain itself to some extent.
We'll see.
I don't know whether that's really true, but you know what I mean? At least that's able to make stuff that people will watch and it pays for it. I don't know. Yeah.
I'm excited for the future of independent cinema. And I mean really legitimately independent cinema. Hundreds of beavers and that kind of thing.
I mean we started the episode talking about Anora, which is extremely independent, I think. Still, I don't know whether that's, I feel like it is. I don't know. Because I don't know.
It was still made independently, right? I think Neon only bought it after. It is made with production companies, but
yeah.
I know that Joel Haver has a whole thing about how Anora actually isn't independent, but I didn't watch it. So
interesting.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard. It's actually very difficult because film is a business. And it is very difficult to make something truly independent because once you take money from somebody, you lose some right to the film. You literally will lose a right to the film, but you lose some right over the direction of the film. And the way that you navigate that is really important. And so you can actually hear a little bit about this on our upcoming episode with Andrew on.
Yeah,
who
true.
talks a little bit about this in his remake of The Wedding Banquet. So a little teaser for that, because that's coming out quite shortly after this episode comes out, if I'm not wrong, on the schedule.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's also what The Brutalist is about, kind of, along with many other things.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, I know exactly what you're saying. Yes, I get it. Yeah, sure.
What can listeners expect from Deep Cut in the year of our Lord 2025?
We will keep making episodes. We're still here.
Well, hopefully a Hong Sang-soo series.
On top of like a billion other things you keep saying we're gonna do, Wilson. That we'll never get to. Yeah. Like apparently a little known filmmaker from India called Chris Nolan is in the cards.
Shout out on my
yes.
I don't know. Is it coming? Is it coming? Let's find out.
Stay tuned. Please subscribe so you'll know when new episodes drop. We have some deep cut upkeeps to be looking forward to, and some new directors that we are venturing into in the next year. I'm very, very excited to be continuing on this movie journey with you both. It has been the light of the last year for me.
Wow.
Yeah.
I think, it has been one of the lights, but I always enjoy talking about movies with you guys, and I hope that just doesn't change in the next year, and I hope our listenership continues to grow and you continue to enjoy more movies with us, and we can build a good community here on this podcast, because that's actually honestly what's been the most surprising about this whole process, because I know that Ben and Eli, the three of us will be a constant, but the many people who have come through digitally and also in person to say that they've listened and to the podcast and they've enjoyed our episodes is kind of crazy to me.
Yeah,
because we've just started this during the pandemic, and we were okay, let's start. We love talking about movies, so let's make a podcast. But now it's a thing. It's its own thing. It's Deep Cut, which is crazy.
This is the 5th time we've done the year review. That's nuts.
Is that true?
The first one was 2020, so this 2024.
That means it's
2020.
Yeah,
21.
do the counting.
24. Yeah, fine.
Wow.
We've done this 5 times.
Wow.
Oh my god.
Feels like home.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we're hitting 100 soon. Oh my god.
Oh, so we're so close to 100. It's kind of wild. I felt like we were at 50 and then suddenly we're at 100. It kind of caught up to me.
And we have a special one coming up for 100, so stay tuned.
So happy to talk about movies with you guys, always.
Yeah.
Likewise.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Deep Cut. If you enjoyed this episode, please leave us a rating, because that helps others discover the show. A great way to support us is to leave us a review for our show on Apple Podcasts or comment on our episodes directly on Spotify. If you have thoughts about the movies that we just talked about, if you want to share your best of 2024 list with us, please do that on our Discord. We'll start posting ours when this episode comes out. We'll also post our lists in the description below. You can keep up with us on Instagram and Letterboxd at DeepCutPod, and on TikTok at DeepCutPod_film. We also have a Patreon. If you want to support us, we deeply appreciate it. Paid subscribers get early access to episodes, and free subscribers get monthly updates from us and some extra Easter eggs and stuff from our episodes. You can go to deepcutpod.com to find our Patreon, Discord, and all the other socials that we've mentioned here. A special shout out to our Patreon Deep Cut Picks supporter, Leah Lai. Without you, we cannot do the show. Deep Cut is hosted and produced by us, Wilson Lai, Benjamin Yap, and Eli Sands. Our cover art is designed by Justina Yam, and our theme song is composed by the one and only Eli Sands. I'm Wilson.
I'm Ben.
I'm Eli.
Take care, and we're looking forward to talking about more movies with you next year.
Oh,
Yeah.
good twist.
I stumbled over that 3 times just to get it.
If there is a next year, is the world gonna freaking blow up? Who knows?
Oh,
but there's
man.
always movies.
And there's always deep cuts.